Guess what day it is?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it is 7 o'clock in the morning. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mack, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Carricker. Great to have you with us. 7 o'clock. Did I say time check already? Brought to you by Yeah, I did, because I said Rolex jeweler. I'm just flummoxed today because we've got to do second alert weather.
There's a lot happening today. The weather's kind of...
Yeah, it's meh. It's meh. Good morning. How are we all doing?
I'm doing well, other than the weather.
Yeah.
Doing great.
But we need the rain.
It's been dry, man.
It has. Yeah, which is not a bad thing. I wish it would just rain at night.
I wish it wouldn't rain on the weekends.
Yeah, I think we need to set this up. Second alert weather. I wonder if we can control this.
We got to work on controlling the weather. Then we can become first alert weather because we would really be on top of it if we're controlling the thing. It's very wet outside. This is, my weather report. What else do you have for us, Randy, from the Weather Center?
From the Weather Center, a 40% chance of rain in the 8 o'clock hour this morning. And then after that, it'll be cloudy throughout the course of the day with a high of 75. As I look at second alert weather, though, I'm kind of disappointed. Because I believe that my iPhone weather forecaster is incorrect. Is there a word that is not past tense that is forecasted? It says light rain forecasted. Isn't it light rain forecast?
Yes.
That's what I thought. My phone should not say light rain forecasted, and it does.
Are you upset about it?
I'm kind of being the grammar police here.
You are. Well,
according to Webster's, forecasted is a past tense form of forecast.
Forecasted?
Yeah, past participle as well.
Okay.
I always forget what that is, though. I'm bad at grammar.
It was forecasted to rain, and it did.
Oh.
Past tense. There
we go.
Okay. Well, we'll let them be then. I guess we're not going to change them. Like, you can't get in touch with Apple anyway.
No, there's no chance of that whatsoever. Thank you for the report from the Weather Center. That was like a reflex. All of a sudden
we got to do that.
The local TV news came back from me where I was like, wait a minute.
Oh no, the weather brings in numbers. Traffic and weather together. That's what it's all about.
Oh
Traffic.
Yes.
There's no east-westbound Olive and Creve Court right in front of Plaza Land Rover and Jaguar. Nothing going on, so if you need to get there, today's the day to drive fast. I'm Captain Randy Carricker.
No.
I'm Captain Randy Carricker, 101 ESPN Jetcopter 2.
There's going to be a day where that actually does bite you in the butt, where somebody will get in trouble and they'll say, well, Randy Carricker on the radio said that I could.
From the helicopter.
Opinions of Randy Carricker from the helicopter are opinions of Randy Carricker, not liable of 101 ESPN or Hubbard Broadcasting.
Okay, we like that little disclaimer there. We got a lot of people to talk to today. We're going to talk to Jed Stugart, the head coach of Lindenwood, in a moment. His team heads to Missouri State tomorrow. Jay Delsing is always on Friday. I texted Joey V yesterday. Texted, that's a word. And I said, hey, can you come on with us tomorrow? Because we've got a Blues prospect camp tonight, and we're going to have it here on 101 ESPN. And Joey V said, not only will I come on with you tomorrow, but talk to Matthew about coming on every week because I'm ready to go. So Joey V is back. So that's great. And then we're going to talk to Theo, Wease, Mizzou wide receiver, coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Plus a special edition of They Said What? Coming up here on 101 ESPN. The Cardinals are in Toronto tonight to open a series. Dan has been to Toronto many times, whether it was with the Cardinals or the Blues. Are customs a hassle getting into Canada now?
Not too bad. Not too bad. We get in it late at night. They know that we're coming through, and they kind of just say, go, 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 go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not bad. They know the teams are coming. If you go to Toronto, if you're a Cardinal fan, if you're a sports fan, go check out the Hockey Hall of Fame. Awesome. Mm-hmm. First thing you hear is Dan Kelly's voice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so I loved it. I love seeing the Hockey Hall of Fame and made a point to go see that. The Sky Dome, or whatever it's called now, is...
Rogers Century.
Rogers Century. Centre.
Yeah.
Center.
Mm-hmm.
In Canadian, eh?
Rogers Century, eh?
Every time I walk in there, I think Joe Carter.
Oh, yeah, right.
Home run.
Yep.
Wins the World Series against the Phillies.
Yeah.
But It's not a bad place.
So I don't know why this popped into my head, but the White Sox used to have a broadcaster, long-time broadcaster named Ken Hawk Harrelson. And they had a shortstop named Alexi Ramirez. And
Alexi!
So this is where I'm going. So Alexi Ramirez. So Hawk would say, when he would make a good play, Alexi, yes! When he would get a guy.
What does this have to do with Toronto?
I have no idea. It just popped into my head.
This is a fluid thought.
So Alexi Ramirez winds up in with Padres, right?
Yeah.
And the Cardinals are on the coast one time. And I text Dan just simply, Alexi, yes. And Alexi Ramirez makes a play in the next inning, and we get an Alexi, yes.
I did it.
It was awesome.
I did it. Just for you.
You're my guy.
Just for you. You used to text me a lot.
I know.
Like, how frequent were the texts, Dan?
Incessant.
Yeah. Weird stuff. A lot of it was name words, that might fit into a broadcast.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Cardinals in Toronto after taking another series. I believe in the last 7 series, the Cardinals have only lost 1. That was the Seattle series over the weekend. Cardinals knock off the Reds 6-1 yesterday. 60-cent drinks at Mobile on the Run today. Yeah, pretty good. Sonny Gray, 6 strong innings. Sonny has actually been really good in his 2 September starts. Hasn't been good since the All-Star break, but he's been good in September, which is what you wanted. You would have liked to have been in the race at the same time that he was good, but can't have everything. And Thomas Saggese is going to be a rock star here in St. Louis.
He's going to be a rock star.
Yeah, people are going to love him.
Well, for Thomas Saggese, though, it was a day of first for him. So you're excited to see that. He singled to center to drive in Lars Nootbaar for his first career RBI in the 8th inning. And then he also got his first major league hit in the 6th inning. So I think that's what you want to see. You want to see these young players, what they have. We keep talking about that at this point, ad nauseum, but at the same time, that's what you want to see. You want to know what you have with these young players. And defensively, I've actually thought that Thomas Saggese looks pretty good.
I agree. And here is a problem that I have. And this is not specific to the Cardinals, although it is an issue with the Cardinals, but it is a baseball-wide problem. There is an old adage in sports that production plays. The Cardinals are so much about the process in minor league baseball that they've gotten away from production. And you hear about a guy like Thomas Saggese or Luke and Baker, talk to people in the organization, and all you hear is a negative. Can't. Then you wind up seeing him at the major league level, and he winds up doing stuff. He can play second base.
I'm with Brooke. Defensively, he's been a lot better than I thought.
Me too. And all I was told was that you can't bring him up because of his defense.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, he's a guy that hit for a lot of this season, hit well over 300, but they didn't want to give him a chance when they give other players a chance that don't produce at the minor league level, but apparently are doing things from a process standpoint. It drives me crazy in baseball, and this is an analytics thing, that process trumps production. For me, production should be where it's at.
Yeah, well, I don't know what exactly that it is, and you're right. It's a good question to ask there, because what is it? What is the difference there? Because I understand that there is a jump from the minors to the majors, but at the same time, why isn't there kind of the evaluation of what will work in the majors? Right. Same thing with Luke and Baker. We could have seen him up probably a little bit sooner than we did, especially in the situations that were available to him. And then he has done pretty well so far.
I remember them sending Jake Woodford down, and I don't know if Jake Woodford ever would have been able to do anything, but they sent him down. He had like a 2.44 ERA, and they said, well, we don't like the way his slider looks. Well, who cares? If the guy's producing, wait until the slider starts getting hammered before you send him down.
It's early. You have to admit that with Saggese, but I'm with you. But, production plays. And
that's what I think.
Yeah, and so far so good. I mean, a couple of hits yesterday, as Brooke mentioned, and he picked up his first major league hit. I'll go back to it. The thing that impresses me is his defense.
Yeah,
he's shown he can handle defensively, shortstop or second base, and it's early, obviously, a couple of games, but from what I've seen, he can handle it.
I'm glad they are at least giving him an opportunity at the major league level here in September.
Just a nice story, too. Rob Rains, he has a story out right now about Thomas Saggese and his mother. So his mother passed away a few years ago due to cancer, and Thomas Saggese really, of course, had a very close relationship with his mother, and he writes more on his wrist. And so you might see him sometimes when he steps to the plate, he kind of taps his wrist where that more is, because he thinks of his mother, because she always would say, they would say to each other, I love you more. And he was actually able to have his family there, so it was just a very special moment for Thomas Saggese. Even though he misses his mother, having his other family members there to help him celebrate.
Cards take the series, 2 of 3 from the Reds, winning 6-1. Meanwhile, last night, Thursday Night Football, the Bills over the Dolphins 31-10, but that's completely secondary to the story of the game, and that's Tua Tagovailoa in the third quarter, taking off on a scramble. He dives head first, hits Damar Hamlin, and his head turned sideways, and he suffered a concussion. It's his fourth, they're saying, diagnosed concussion in football in the last 5 years, but he had another one that they didn't diagnose. Remember when he stumbled off the field and they put him back in the game in Miami? So essentially he's had 5 concussions now. Had one in Alabama on the same play where he messed up his hip, and then he's had 4 in the NFL. And this is where Roger Goodell needs to be a leader. And Roger Goodell needs to say, look, we care about our players. We know our players are highly competitive and they want to play. We know our teams are highly competitive and they want to win. But we cannot have players dying or negatively affecting the quality of life at the age of 25 or 26 because they played our sport. And what happens with concussions is that there's an incremental buildup. Each concussion you get is worse than the previous one that you had.
I'm with you, Randy. I think the commissioner needs to step in. Now, if there was a medical doctor that comes in and says that he's available to play, I got to wonder about the $167 million that's due to him.
That's a big part of it.
It's a huge part of it. So he gets $93 million, no questions asked. He would get $167 million if he played out the contract, and teams can say, well, you had the chance to play and you didn't, so do we void the rest of the deal? So it's $167 million. I got to think the commissioner or smarter people come in and say, look, that's enough. That's enough. 25, 26, as you mentioned, there's so much more to life, family, future family. I'm with you. I mean, that was scary, what happened last night. Now, from the football sense, if I'm Miami, I got to call Ryan Tannehill and see where he's at. I got to call the Steelers. That'd be another team I'd look at with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields and say, one of these guys available? Because I don't know if their backup is good enough to lead them to where they want to go.
No. Yeah, it was really painful to see with Tua last night because that whole situation where it played out, not a clean game for the Dolphins whatsoever. And so, Tua is just trying to do what he thought was best for the team at the time. It's just that with his history, I was hoping that he would protect himself a little bit better in that situation. But as we all know, and as former players could talk about better, in those moments, you're just trying to do the right thing that you think for your team, and it was just so painful to see. As soon as you saw that happen, you knew that it wasn't something good. So I'm with you, Randy. The NFL has to do the right thing here, but will they do the right thing? The best thing for Tua?
Well, they let Trent Green play, and Trent, interestingly, when he went to Miami, he had to go all over the country to find a doctor that would clear him after his concussion suffered in Kansas City. But he found one, and he wound up playing for the Dolphins, and subsequently wound up playing here again, too. But he shouldn't have. And Tua shouldn't play again. And Tua, he's going to want to play. He believes he's Tua legit to quit. But I don't think that he should play.
The money will dictate. I bet in this situation, the money will dictate. Yeah. And that's
Follow
unfortunate. Former players came out right and left and said, just stop. Don't play. But how do you tell a pro athlete? It's very tough to say that the game's over. And pro athletes don't want to do that. They don't want to end on an injury. They don't want to end with a doctor saying that you shouldn't play. And that's another part of this, is that it's up to the individual to say, I've had enough. And I don't know if he'll do that.
Well, they should ask his parents. He should ask his parents. That would be a good way to start. It's the opening drive tomorrow. Mizzou hosts Boston College, and Lindenwood is at Missouri State. We're going to talk to Lindenwood coach Jed Stugart next year on 101 ESPN. the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Lindenwood grad Danny Mack, Lindenwood grad Randy Carricker, and wish they were Lindenwood grads, Brooke Grimsley and Matthew Rocchio with us on 101 ESPN. Yeah. The head coach of the Lions, Jed Stugart, joins us tomorrow, or today, because he's getting ready for tomorrow's game at Missouri State. Coach, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. I'd join you tomorrow too, Randy. But man, it's been it's fun to have all these Lindenwood alums on. Man, this is you guys are a little outnumbered, so good to be with y'all.
Well, we're glad to have you with us. Let's start with this. It has been a rugged start schedule-wise for your season. What do you think your team is getting out of this? The toughness of the early part of your schedule.
Well, I think they're finding a lot about themselves. You know, we kind of knew, it wasn't a secret. They didn't think it was. We didn't think it was. I mean, I think nobody knows it's a secret that, the start of our schedule was going to be a tough one. And I think we're not the only ones with a tough schedule. I think the first thing you got to remind your guys is that, first of all, nobody cares, because everybody else has got a tough schedule too. And you're going to face, adversity. Everybody faces adversity. I think the things, we're learning about this team is we're a fairly young team. We're a little bit more mature than last year, but we're still pretty young. We brought in 16 transfers, last spring, so there's a bunch of guys that have been playing together for the first time. It's the first time our quarterback got here in July. So first time, him being here with this team, and we're learning so much about Kansas. Was a lot about, man, you see a different speed, you see a little bit different size in a lot of areas. I think that helped us a little bit. We played the number 9, now 7th-ranked team, Central Arkansas last week. And I think we learned that we could play with the 7th-ranked team in the country in so many flashes of that game. That's what was kind of frustrating is that we took a lead and we moved the ball on them and we stopped them and we did so many things. We just have to clean up self-inflicted mistakes at the wrong time of games that we get behind in. It wasn't because we're outmatched. So we have to do a better job coaching and getting them ready. And that's what we feel like we did this week because we're going to face another extremely tough opponent tomorrow in Missouri State.
Yeah, Coach, as you mentioned there, you're facing Missouri State this week. So just looking at that opponent, you're talking about this younger group, this younger roster that you have currently right now, and you had a more senior group last year. What is the difference like in coaching and coaching approach with a younger group of talent coming in versus that senior group?
Well, the senior group, number one, they knew, they probably knew a little bit more. They've been in our program longer. A lot of them, they've kind of moved up from when they were Division II and into Division I, but they knew, a lot of it was, we were just out, we were either out sized or we were outmatched a little bit in some situations, but also, last year with all the injuries, we never, we didn't have enough depth last year, but we had kids that knew, that was a little bit of our problem last year, but they knew our system because they'd been here a long time. We recruited them. And they've been coming through this move to Division I. This year, we recruited a lot of high school kids. That's kind of a big deal, especially in the around the Lou is a big deal to us. But we also added some transfers, and so it's been fun too. The good news is how close they are. Sometimes you'll see a bunch of new faces, and you wonder if the team's divided and everything. I just love how close they are and how they battle together. But that's what's fun about coaching. Every year you got a new crop. You got to figure out kind of what pushes their buttons.
This is more of a coaching question. In the pro game last night, we saw with Tua the concussion and serious issue with him. How much do you emphasize tackling properly as you move forward in summer camp and then obviously during the regular season? How much is that from a coaching perspective, an emphasis that's put on your coaching staff and players?
No, it's a big deal, but especially especially in the off season or in spring ball, there's a ton of technique practices and emphasis drills you do. Number one, we try to do everything. I mean, we wear the Guardians at practice. I mean, we try to do everything we can because, obviously over time, back, when some of us all played football, I mean, your concussion protocol was go get a drink of water and be back on the field in about 5 minutes, and so, and so it's come a long way. Education's come a long way and research has come a long way. So it's a big deal. And, even the way you tackle, the simplest things, like even on angle tackles. We were always taught you get your head in front of the ball carrier and drive through them. And now it's even, your head's behind the ball carrier so your neck doesn't get restricted from the side and shoved to the, and bent that way. And so you tackle from behind now and kind of do a rugby gator roll type tackle on angle tackle. So a lot of that's changed, and even the emphasis in practices. Rules have changed in practice. There's no more. You can't do old-fashioned Oklahoma drill anymore, or those, the drill that you always see probably created more soccer or basketball players, where you got on your back and got up and just ran straight into each other. It's when we were kids. None of those drills. So a lot of emphasis, but as a coach, it's our responsibility about their wellness and health, and it's really emphasized now.
The Missouri State Bears are the opponent tomorrow night in Springfield, and then you come home to take on the University of St. Thomas 1 week from tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and tickets are available to see St. Louis's Division I football team, the Lindenwood Lions. Coach, as always, thanks for the time. Have a good one tomorrow. I'll be tuned in, and we will talk to you next week.
God bless. Good to be out with y'all. Have a great weekend.
You too, Coach. That is Coach Jed Stugart of the Lindenwood Lions.
Another tough opponent for him this week.
It's been tough so far, and hopefully things will ease up after this weekend against Missouri State.
Division I, different animal.
It is. And
different animal.
Yeah, just the players, and they're just getting their Division I players up to speed in terms of playing Division I football.
I wonder about recruiting high school kids. What happens to Lindenwood in year 2 or 3 with some of these high school kids, meaning that they get poached? You know what I mean?
Yep.
They're going to get better and better and better, and all of a sudden they get poached by some of the bigger schools that are out there.
It's one of the problems you have when you have a good coach, right?
Yeah.
The players are getting developed for other schools. There are some interesting games tomorrow night, or tonight rather. Number 20 Arizona plays number 14 K-State. That'll be fun. Alabama is at Wisconsin, the 4th-ranked Crimson Tide, and their new coach, Kalen DeBoer, going to Wisconsin, and the Badgers have fallen off. Guys, to me, the most interesting game of the weekend, and maybe it's just because it means more, is 16th-ranked LSU at South Carolina. South Carolina's 2-0, and they beat Kentucky last week 31-6, and Shane Beamer seems to have finally turned the corner. Not finally, but he seems to have turned the corner with the Gamecocks.
Yeah, I think that is. I'm looking at Mizzou this week, and I know that we'll talk about that throughout the show, but honestly, that Mizzou-Boston College game, because Boston College, what they've been able to do, especially against FSU to start the season, that's going to be a dogfight, I feel like.
I'm with you. That's the most interesting game for me, and I'm not just because we're in St. Louis and a state school is going against Boston College, but you have to look at Boston College. Was the Florida State that good of a win after Florida State has lost a couple? Bill O'Brien can coach. Mm-hmm. He can flat out coach, and the possession time has been 9 minutes over their opposition. So the defense of Mizzou, is it legitimate after back-to-back shutouts? And I think we'll find out more about that Mizzou D.
And an 11:45 in the morning game tomorrow on SEC Network for Mizzou and BC.
Eli Drinkwitz says that he's not worried. He did his weekly interview with Mike Kelly, and I was listening to that, and Mike Kelly asked him about the early kickoff, and he said, well, what time do we do practices? And he said 11 o'clock in the morning. So they're fully prepared for that early kickoff. So I've always wondered if that does matter to teams sometimes, but I think it matters more maybe to fans than it does the players.
Well, it does matter to fans, definitely, for tailgating purposes, especially when you have to drive 90 minutes to get there. But I know Gary Pinkel, it was a big deal for him when they would play those 11 in the morning games because football players and college students are night owls.
Mm-hmm.
Here's some other good games. Number 9, Oregon against Oregon State. Mm-hmm. Tulane at number 10, Oklahoma. Number 1, Georgia at Kentucky. So there's some early season tests. The SEC continues to kind of ease into league play. Mm-hmm. And some of the SEC schools haven't played anybody. It's not just Mizzou. It's across the board. So looking at the SEC specifically, it's starting to get a little bit better in terms of the competition as they move forward.
Fun weekend of college football coming up. Coming up with us here on 101 ESPN, our friend Jay Delsing. Jay Delsing Golf, of course, Sunday mornings with Danny Mack, 8 to 10 here on 101 ESPN. And now that the season is wrapped up, there's still stuff going on in the golf world that's kind of bizarre. That's next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals yesterday afternoon win their series over the Reds with a 6-1 victory. Sonny Gray was incredible. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts. Also was a big day for the rookie Tommy Saggese, who goes 2 for 4, picking up his first Major League Baseball hit and then his first Major League Baseball RBI later on in the game. Cardinals are back in action, facing off against the Blue Jays tonight, 6:07 first pitch. Also, week 2 of the NFL season kicked off last night in Thursday Night Football. It was a dominant win for the Bills over the Dolphins, 31-10, but obviously marred by the concussion injury to Tua Tagovailoa. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
For Dan and I to follow Jay Delsing around at the Ascension Charity Classic last weekend. And Jay joins us now on the Celebrity Line on 101 ESPN. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good morning, Alexei. Yeah. I miss. I don't know how many people Danny was texting while he was doing Emmy Award-winning broadcasting, but I sure miss our text while he was on the air.
You texted me as much as Randy. So I used to get a lot of texts from you, Jay Delsing.
Oh, my gosh. I remember we played a word game, and I'm like, you can't get this word on the broadcast. He got soy sauce on the broadcast. I'm like, darn it.
There's some other words I could not use no matter what. So it was a little tougher than people realized, probably trying to get a word in that you wanted in from a text. Some of those were a little dicey, so had to stay away from those.
That's great.
Yeah, that's what pros do.
So, Jay, a couple of things. Number one, great to know that the tournament is going to be here in St. Louis. It's going to be known as the Stiefel Charity Classic for the next 3 years. But I was disappointed, not with the execution of the tournament, but with our support of the tournament. What was your impression of this edition, the final edition of the Ascension Charity Classic?
Well, when you're out playing, it's hard to really tell about numbers. Are you talking, Randy, about numbers and
galleries and stuff?
Yeah. It was really hard to tell. I haven't seen any of the numbers yet. The only thing that I do know is that from a corporate standpoint, we had really, really great support. I have not seen the numbers, and so unfortunately, I didn't get to watch much of it, so I really didn't see what it looked like. But did it appear like it was less than the year before?
That's what my impression was, and I don't know if that's the case, but I know that from our standpoint, we didn't promote it as much. I didn't see and hear as much promotion for the tournament as I had in previous years, and I just, because that's what we do, is we support sports, but I think people need to be given the opportunity to know that the sporting event is there so that they can and will support it.
Yeah, unfortunately, there were some changes that went around with Ascension, and there was quite a bit of
upheaval.
There was upheaval's a great word. I don't know how else to say it, but there was a lot of change, and so we had quite a bit of uncertainty around a lot of different areas. The biggest thing is having Stiefel and a company like Ron Kay come in. They've been in this in our city and doing things for over 100 years, and they're part of the Blues, they're part of the Cardinals, and now having them part of the Charity Classic and raising money for North County is a big deal.
Jay, it was good seeing you on Sunday. I was able to see you briefly out there, and I thought it was a fantastic event. The weather was great, so it was fun seeing you out there on Sunday. Now, there's a lot going on with the PGA Tour. Obviously, headlines this week that the PGA Tour was meeting with Sonny Piff, and that was happening on 9/11 in New York. It's very peculiar timing. Even Rory McIlroy saying that the other day. What do you make of the meetings happening? And I've been looking for some updates. I haven't seen any at this point, but the timing of it, I think, is the big part there.
Brooke, what our commissioner is doing in Jacksonville with it's just beyond head scratching. I haven't heard anything. I am extremely excited to see what if anything, will come out of these meetings. And to do it at 9, right on the anniversary just makes zero sense to me. But nothing that we've done with this situation has made a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, we've overreacted. We've started things as an organization that at the time that we committed to them, we couldn't possibly sustain or continue to sustain from a financial standpoint. So I hate the leadership that we have at the PGA Tour right now. I've met Jay Monahan on multiple occasions when he was an assistant commissioner or associate commissioner, whatever the heck we called him. I had a tremendous affinity for him. I thought he was going to do a great job, and this has come in and been nothing short of a complete disaster for me in professional golf. It's interesting, guys. All of our measurables across the board in the game are off the charts. There are more people playing golf. The country club, the amateur game is better than ever, and the pro game is a complete mess. And then we have the USGA come out and present a rollback of the golf ball, which is only going to make it harder for the amateurs. We've had some questionable leadership at a really difficult time.
I want to go back to the Ascension Charity Classic. I thought one of the cool things for you, if not the best part of it, was your daughter as your caddy. So I got to ask you, did you guys get in any arguments like, Dad, you got to go with an 8-iron here? And you're like, no, 9-iron here. So having your daughter on the bag must have been pretty cool.
It was the best. It was the absolute best. Mackenzie lives in Alabama. She's a mother of 2, so I have 2 grandbabies because of her. And it was absolutely fantastic. What she kept saying to me was, Dad, I can't believe how well you're playing. Just keep playing. And I'm like, what are you watching? I mean, I'm not playing as nearly as well as I wanted. She's like, these putts, they're going to go in. They're going to go in. And she's like, just keep rolling them. They're so close. And then on Sunday night, she's like, Dad, none of those putts went in. And I'm like, yeah, I know. She was great. It was the best tournament I've ever had in terms of just super memories. We had a great time. The people were so gracious to us. Professional golfers we're just odd people, we're just odd people. And she, at one point in time, she looked at me and she's like, Dad, this is a gong show out here. And I said, yeah, because there's some of the conversations that go on are just so random and so odd. And she looks at me, I'm like, yeah, this has been going on ever since I played. You get into your own world, and we played with a guy named Cliff Kresge. And at one point in time, he yelled, I'm being denied a great putt that should have gone in or something like that. And she looks at me, I'm like, I don't know. We just got to keep going. We're almost finished with this round. And I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to her. We're all kind of nuts.
Jay, there's an interesting situation unfolding. We mentioned Liv earlier, but with Jon Rahm, who has plans to play in 3 DP World Tour events in the next 6 weeks. And he also has 2 Liv events scheduled. And before any of that happens, he needs to take care of some fines he's facing from the DP World Tour because he's played on the Liv Tour. And he says, I'm not paying any fines. I can't imagine that another tour, a non-Liv tour, and by the way, Rahm also wants to set himself up to play in the Ryder Cup. I just can't see a pathway for him doing that. It's kind of like the song Hotel California. You can check out any time, but you can never leave. That's where Rahm is with Liv, isn't it?
Yes. I don't understand. I mean, unless there's something going on in the background with the commissioner of the DP World Tour that none of us know about, but all of these things that he's talking about, there's no solution that we know of. I mean, what do you mean you're not going to pay fines? You think you're going to be able to just do whatever? He thinks he's going to be able to just do whatever he wants? I mean, that something's missing here. I don't know if John's taken a 3-wood to the head here and lost his marbles, but I don't understand what he thinks he's going to be able to do. It doesn't compute. And I mean, guys, that's one of the things that we're trying to figure out. I mean, we'd love to have the best players in the world playing against each other in the same venues, the same time, more so than just the majors, but they're not members of any tours other than Liv. So where are they going with that? And then how about you guys, Mickelson, Bubba Watson? There's some really big names that are facing quote-unquote relegation on that tour, meaning could be demoted or kicked off, and they're not going to kick either one of those two guys off. So, we don't know anything about that tour. We don't know how long their contracts are. We don't know what happens in cases like this when they say one thing and then do another. It just lacks so much credibility. I don't know. And John Rahm has come out and said so many different things, guys. He's complained about, I don't need the money. Then he took the money. The money doesn't mean anything to me. Now I've heard that has a lot of buyer's remorse and wishes he was playing on the PGA Tour. I mean, it's so dizzying what information's coming out of professional golf. It's a terrible look, and I don't know what to believe.
Who do you guys have on the show on Sunday?
You know what? We have the great Judy Rankin on the show. Judy is a St. Louis, and she grew up playing at Forest Park, of all places, which is super cool. And one of the things that she told us that I didn't know about, as a little girl, her mother had just passed away, which was really tragic, and she and her dad were going it alone, and she qualified for this tournament in Orlando, and the members at AAA gave her this little suitcase because she didn't have anything to put her clothes in to travel, and they also didn't have any money. When she opened the suitcase, there was $400 in there, and so she started the Judy Rankin Suitcase Foundation, which does similar things for junior golfers that don't have any money, that need money to raise money for traveling. And she's won 26 times. She's a World Golf Hall of Famer and the best voice on TV maybe of all time in professional golf. So pretty neat.
She's 79, and she'll be part of the broadcast for the Solheim Cup. For people that don't know what the Solheim Cup is, maybe you can give a little explanation to that.
Yeah, awesome, Danny. It is the women's version of the Ryder Cup. So we have the red, white, and blue playing against the Euros. We've got Stacey Lewis and U.S. Open champ as the U.S. captain against Suzanne Pettersson, the Swedish professional tour player. So, it's going. It doesn't have near the following that the Ryder Cup has, but it should, because these women get after it, and the way they play, it's really worth watching.
Jake, great to have you with us. We'll be tuned in Sunday morning, and we'll talk soon. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for following on Sunday, too, Randy. That was cool.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you. That was Jay Delsing with us on 101 ESPN.
Those guys can still play.
And it's amazing how far they hit it. It's just amazing.
And some of these guys are in their mid-60s, high 60s, and still hitting it close to 300 yards. Jay had a good tournament, which is great to see him get an exemption. And Jay does so much for that tournament because he's a local guy. And the players, I was with Jay for 3 days, the players come up to him, some of the biggest names in golf, and tell him thank you. Thank you for what you've done, making sure that this is a great event. And as you started the interview with Jay, it's great to have it for 3 more years. I'm excited that there's an extension. It kind of came down to the wire whether or not this would be extended. So it's a good thing for golf in the community.
That was a huge announcement this past weekend that it was being extended because, Dan, as you mentioned there, it does a lot for the community, and they give back to the community with a lot of the efforts that they do there.
Now, one of the things you got to keep in mind is in a couple of years, you've got the BMW Championship coming to Belle Reeves. So they're going to have to, the golf community, any kind of sport has only so much money to go out and support it. So how they arrange this is going to be interesting. I would imagine that they probably put, and this is just my guess, the Stiefel Charity Classic at a different time, because you can't have 2 at the same time.
No.
It just wouldn't work, or a couple weeks apart. So something to keep in mind as they move forward.
And thanks to Stiefel, a great St. Louis company, Ron Krasuski, their CEO, for doing so much for the community, including now having the naming rights to the Stiefel Charity Classic.
It's huge. And as Brooks said, a ton of money goes into North County, and we need it. We need those charities to be supported in North County.
Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It. Get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO.
Yo-ho, a weekend yo-ho.
A weekend yo-ho. Before Take It or Leave It on 101 ESPN.
like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Brooke, Dan, Matthew, and Randy. It's time for Take It or Leave It on 101 ESPN. Yesterday, the Mizzou Board of Curators unveiled the renderings for the upgrades to Faurot Field in Columbia. Take it or leave it. When this work is done, people from Georgia, Alabama, Texas, and LSU will come to Faurot Field and say, boy, this is nicer than what we got.
Nicer than what they have? I don't know. They have some pretty nice stadiums, but the renderings do look really good.
They look amazing.
You're kind of trapped me in there, Randy, because I don't want to take away from how nice those renderings look.
I've been to all of those stadiums, and I think this looks nicer.
You think so?
Yep.
I'm going to leave it just because they're the Blue Bloods.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I go against, but it is the SEC. It's keeping up with the Joneses, and
the future is now, old man.
All right, I'm old. I'll move on.
It's the quote from the TV show, all right? It's from Malcolm in the Middle. He dunks on him and says, the future is now, old man.
I will
I'm
say
an
that
old man.
it looks like a better SEC stadium now.
It really does.
It looks like how it should be. So I will have to leave it, though, Randy. I'm with Dan on this one. So I'm going to stick with Mizzou because I don't know if you saw the big news yesterday. City council members in Kansas City unanimously designated Kansas City as SEC territory in honor of the Mizzou Tigers. Take it, you like it. Leave it, you hate it. I know that hate's a strong word, but we're going to use it in this instance.
I'm going to leave it because Kansas City, with all due respect to what Mizzou is, we are SEC country in St. Louis. Columbia is SEC country. Kansas City, that's Big 12. That's KU and K-State. That's not. They couldn't compete in the SEC. Come on. What are they trying to flatter themselves? Get serious.
Do you think St. Louis has turned into SEC country? Does it feel that way?
Yeah,
to me, it does.
We are, yeah. We are. Missouri is definitely in the SEC.
I was surprised to see Kansas City do that because of what you mentioned there. You have a lot of KU fans. You have a lot of Kansas State fans. Well, maybe not a lot of Kansas State fans. Whoopsies. But you have some fans out there of other teams. I can't imagine that they're too happy about that.
I don't think they are. I think the social media reaction has been overwhelmingly negative from the Jayhawkers, and I don't blame them. I mean, what do you want? Are you going to want Lawrence, Kansas? Okay, well, we don't have Missouri, or we don't have Kansas City. We don't have Columbia. We don't have St. Louis. But we've got Lawrence. No, I don't think that's...
Is it convenient that this happens after Illinois beats Kansas also this past weekend?
Yeah, kind of convenient. Yeah.
Have you guys been to the Little Apple, Kansas State?
Oh, Manhattan, yeah.
Manhattan, Kansas.
Yeah.
They host number 20 Arizona this weekend. That's a big game. Arizona's in the Big 12.
Yeah, and that's tonight.
It's weird.
Yeah, it is.
Weird.
Yeah, that game is tonight. By the way, that happened in Kansas City because that's where the Mizzou Board of Curators met to unveil the renderings for the new stadium project. So that's why they said, Kansas City is the SEC. And a lot of people are upset. They don't think that the Big 12 basketball tournament should be held in KC anymore, which is fine. We would take it. I'm sure Dallas would love to have it. So if Kansas City doesn't want the Big 12 basketball tournament anymore, Enterprise Center is beautiful.
Baseball now and take it or leave it?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Mm-hmm. All right, Sonny Gray has won 3 in a row. And in those 3 games, 19 innings, only 9 hits allowed. On the year, he has thrown 160 and 2/3 innings. Take it or leave it. This is what you expected out of Sonny Gray.
Yeah. Oh, big picture. I'm going to absolutely take that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly what we expected.
I would imagine he gets 3 more starts. So that gets him, let's just say he goes 7 innings, and each of those starts gets him right around 180 innings. Mm-hmm. Pretty much what you expected.
Yeah. Actually, the Cardinals are better, especially because of their offensive deficiencies. They've gone 16-10 in his 26 starts, which is better than I thought. I thought that they would be closer to 500. So, got to give them credit for that, too.
Matthew?
Take it or leave it. It's not that the Bills are good, it's that the Dolphins are a lot worse than you thought.
I'm going to leave that. The Bills have a really good coach. They've got some good, solid defensive players. And by the way, Sean McDermott has rebuilt his staff. Last year before the season, Leslie Frazier retired, and then they fired Ken Dorsey during the season. So he's got a couple of new coordinators, a couple of new position coaches, and Josh Allen is just a stud.
He is.
They're good.
Yeah, I'm with you. And their first game was close. They play so many tight games. I mentioned this yesterday. Every game seems to be within a touchdown. Obviously, last night being the exception, but they're in every game.
Yeah.
So I think they're one of the better teams in the NFL this year.
You don't go to 5 consecutive playoffs unless you have a really good program going.
Yep.
Take it or leave it. Mizzou goes into the Alabama game undefeated. That would mean wins over Boston College, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, UMass, and Auburn.
I'm going to take it because it's fun, but I'm worried about that A&M game.
That A&M game is
rule of
the
cool
one.
always
because
wins.
you're also playing there against Texas A&M.
Right.
104,000.
They don't have a quarterback.
Field.
12th man.
Yep. It's part of it.
With a little R next to it.
They don't have a quarterback.
Alabama at Wisconsin this weekend. That could be their toughest non-conference game going into Mizzou. So they have a real good chance to be undefeated as well as Missouri going into that game.
Yeah. So teams win without quarterbacks. It happens all the time.
I will take it, just maybe to be fun, but I do have some concerns about getting to that point. That Texas A&M game. But even this weekend, I don't think that you can overlook this weekend, too.
No, they better be strapped in for that one.
I think they will be. Wasn't it 2021 that Eli Drinkwitz lost to Boston College?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I mentioned this yesterday. The Missouri program has 3 players left from that game. That is amazing to me.
That is incredible.
With the turnover that they've had, to have only 3 players remaining from the Boston College loss of 2021.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
One thing they've done very well at Mizzou and been very smart and apparently intentional about is paying linemen on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball. That's where you should spend your money. Start there.
I heard your conversation with Tim McKernan. I found it really interesting yesterday. Eli's making $9 million.
Next year it'll be 9.5.
Yeah. I'm not sure there's a reason why he leaves. He's got a great situation with the NIL situation in the state of Missouri.
It's unbelievable.
It is.
Yeah.
Did you jump into Bloom Party yesterday?
He did.
I did, yeah.
Oh, I got to go back and listen to that.
I didn't hear that either.
Yeah, I didn't listen to
we
Bloom
talked
Party
a little
yesterday.
Mizzou, Ra.
Oh, see, this is the problem. Jackson puts it. I see the post from Balloon Party, and I see that they talked Mizzou, but I see no plus a drop in from Randy Carricker on the Twitter post. That would have made me jump in.
I was walking down the hall, and they were talking
Jackson.
Mizzou. I thought, I got nothing going on. I'll go in and crash their show.
Marketing.
Was Tim shocked?
I think he was pleasantly shocked.
Good.
Yeah.
Tim likes the assist.
You just stormed right in and said that I got hot takes about
I
this
just
one.
walked right up to that microphone that you're sitting at, Brooke.
So it's 2 people from this show that have interrupted their show this week. Take it or leave it. Anyone who's had a concussion should be required by the NFL to wear a Guardian cap.
Oh, that's a good one. I'll take it. Yes.
I'll take
Now
that.
that's how Goodell could flex his muscles on this thing.
Yeah.
I think I've seen a couple players wear that Guardian cap. There's one who's doing it specifically, I believe, in NFL games for this season. It definitely stands out, but for Tua specifically, with the amount of concussions that he's had, I would if I was him.
I would too.
Tua make it back? What do you guys think?
I bet he comes back,
Yeah,
honestly.
I think he'll try.
Man.
Yeah,
It
competitive.
looked bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
Again, it's so hard to have professional athletes step away.
I always go back and we heard from DeMarco yesterday talking about Chris Miller. Chris Miller, when the Rams were in LA before they came here, he would leave the stadium and would have to call his wife for directions to get home because of the concussions. He didn't know how to get home anymore. And, bad things happen with concussions. I remember sitting with Kurt Warner in a studio like this months after he had suffered that concussion in 2000. So this is right before the 01 season. So had the concussion, suffered it in December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. 8 months later, he comes into the studio and he says, hey, can you turn those lights down? He was still suffering light sensitivity 8 months after initially suffering that concussion.
I think about Chris Pronger all the time.
Yep.
He dealt with light sensitivity, and it was a scary situation. Had to go see some of the best specialists in the country to get over this. I think about that all the time.
Yeah, and it does affect people. And D. Farr would sit, Dan, in your chair and completely forget something, just blank, and just only half jokingly say concussions. But it was. Especially linemen, man, it was tough.
Well, and we've seen the
too.
research with CTE and everything that has come out. I will say, just kind of going back to your point earlier, if Roger Goodell should step in and say something, just remembering, though, Roger Goodell has also denied some of the links between football and concussions. He has publicly denied the link between the two.
That's a great point, and I didn't put that into it. He does have that clause as the commissioner of working in the best interest of the league. He can do pretty much what he suspended Tom Brady in the best interest of the league. So people say, well, he can't do that. He can do pretty much whatever he wants to a player working in the best interest of the league. I don't know how it would not be in the best interest of the league to try to prevent a player from actually dying while playing football.
Now, if you're Miami, you're saying it takes one doctor to say that he can come back, and 167 would be due to him if he's injured, and every doctor says he can't come back, but it takes one doctor to say, yeah, he can come back. Yeah, no problem. And then you get the money that becomes a question for him moving forward.
Remember in those unsealed documents that came out from 2022 from a deposition about CTE, I want to give you the quote from Roger Goodell when talking about CTE and concussions in football. He said, "We all know that there's risks with playing football and other sports. There's risks to walking down the street."
Yeah. I don't think they're as severe.
Yeah.
The risks. He's something.
That's a good way to put it. He's something.
It's the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Coming up, is there a chance that the Cardinals could get better for next season just by making some coaching changes? That's coming your way on the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
It's 8:06 in St. Louis. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke, Dan, and Randy, the St. Louis Cardinals, as we approach the last couple of weeks of the season. Next week, by the way, the final homestand of the year, are 24th in Major League Baseball in runs scored. They were 19th in Major League Baseball in runs scored last year. Their OPS is at 700, which is 20th in Major League Baseball. They are below average in OPS plus. Average is 100, and the Cardinals are at 94 in terms of OPS plus, 6 percentage points below average. And you run through every major statistic, and the Cardinals are below average or in the bottom third of Major League Baseball. And we were talking about this in our post-show meeting yesterday. Is this an issue of talent that just needs to grow and mature and get better, or could this talent be enhanced and could it perform better, or does it need different and better coaching?
Well, we also have seen not just the young players struggle this year, but we've also seen the veteran players. So I think it does call into question of what changes. You're going to have the Cardinals as of right now. They are out of the playoff picture. I know not officially eliminated, so these players are continuing to compete as such. But at the same time, what changes for next year? Because I especially, though, want to make sure that we're getting the most out of these younger players. You have Nolan Gorman. He was sent down to the minors. They tried to make it work for him. They really stuck with him for a while, and he still wasn't able to produce well at the big league level. You have Jordan Walker, where he started, and then he was sent down, and then he was back up, and then sent down, and then now he's back up here at the majors. A lot of these younger players, you have to make sure you get the most out of them. So I wonder what changes for next year, because I would really hope that this is a talented group of players and we're not getting the most out of them, rather than this is just not a talented group of players. You can't replace an entire roster.
Yeah, it's really tough to teach at the major league level because you either do or you don't. And I think that you can get away with it at the minor league level, which would tell me that there needs to be an overhaul in what's happening with more so the minor leagues than the major league staff. Although there could be some changes, because I think you need to show publicly that you're doing something differently at the major league level, and usually it's the coaches. But I go back to Walker and Gorman, and I'm not sure they get better this year because of major league coaching, and they needed them to be good this year. And unfortunately, when you look at the record, it falls on coaches, it falls on the manager. I'm just not sure in a, let's say, a 2-month period of time, you can turn that around very quickly. I think it's a gradual thing, and you live with the warts that you may have at the minor league level, and that's where you're teaching more so than getting them at the major league level and say, well, we got to make up with a lot of time because these guys aren't ready. And it just seemed like, when you talk about those two guys, they just, Gorman went the wrong way, Walker wasn't ready, and Victor Scott was thrown into it at the beginning of the season. It's just very tough to teach at the major league level.
I think they can very easily make changes at the major league level in terms of coaching, but I think it'll be very cosmetic. If you look at this group,
that's where I'm going. Right? Maybe I didn't explain that well enough.
You did, because by all rights, Wilson Contreras should be the catcher. But I think we can all agree, Pages and Herrera, when they got to the major leagues, they weren't ready. Now, this is an issue of players being rushed. John Mozeliak admitted that they rushed Jordan Walker. Clearly, they rushed a guy like Nolan Gorman. He was not ready to play at the major league level. Lars Nootbaar still might not be ready to play at the major league level. I think it's safe to say that he was rushed. Victor Scott II, out of necessity, was rushed to the major league level. Mason Wynn was nurtured properly and probably utilized best when they gave him those at-bats last year. But more times than not, whether it's pitching, Zach Thompson, Matthew Liberatore, others, more times than not, this organization rushes players, and somebody is telling the people in charge, this player's ready, and they aren't. For me, this is more a developmental issue below the major leagues than it is at the major league level. Not to say that different coaching, because I think different coaching would enhance the performance of the players that they have here. But I think the root of the problem is actually at the minor league level.
And that's why I think this offseason, if you are looking at changes that I think would really make fans feel better and also really help your team to transition into kind of this new youth movement of players, is that you make sure that you invest in the minor league level. That's what we keep talking about. If you're very transparent, I fully believe that if you're transparent with the fans this offseason and say, here's what we are investing in at the minor league level to make sure that we are getting the most out of these young players so that they are prepared when they come to the majors, I think a lot of fans would buy into that. Where's the pitching lab? What about a catching instructor? As you mentioned, Pedro Pajes and Ivan Herrera, were they fully ready to go? Having that in your minor league system ready to go, I think would really help the fans buy into this new change, this new system, because you can't run the same thing back next year and expect different results.
Cosmetic is the way that you put it, Randy. If you made choices to get rid of the major league staff, or at least, some of the guys on the major league staff, I think you're right. I just, it's tough to teach at the major league level. So then you have to ask the question, to your point, Brooke, what are you doing at the minor league level? Like, if you changed Ollie, do you think it would have made that much difference this year? I don't.
You would have had to have the right guy in place. You would have had to have a veteran Madden type guy in place.
So to me, it comes down to the players performing. And they just did not have performance this year.
No, and Mo, by the way, Joe Madden was never going to manage for John Mozeliak. So that is a non-starter anyway. So what it comes back to is the front office. And I want to make this point, too, because I know that you're thinking it. While we say it's hard to coach at the major league level, the question has to be asked of John Mozeliak and whoever takes over in charge of the minor leagues and the major league staff and the minor league staff, but mostly the major league staff. Why is it that a guy like Tommy Pham can perform so much better in Kansas City than he does in St. Louis? Why is it that Dylan Carlson has an OPS 100 points higher in Tampa than he did in St. Louis? Why is it that Tommy Edman goes and performs from a power standpoint, now small sample size, better than he ever has? Why is Jack Flaherty so much better now than he was as a member of the Cardinals? Why did Genesis Cabrera leave last year and light it up after you couldn't find a role for him? Why can Jordan Hicks spend a half season as a representative starter when you didn't think he could ever be a representative starter? I think those are questions that need to be answered to the satisfaction, if I were the owner of the people in charge.
Tyler O'Neill with his 30 home runs.
Yeah,
30 home runs, which I know that even John Mozeliak kind of joked at. He knew that Tyler O'Neill would do well once he left, but you look at what you got in return. It wasn't anything that helped your organization. Both of those players are not a part of your organization anymore that you got in return for Tyler O'Neill. Mm-hmm. Now, same thing with Sean Armstrong and Dylan Carlson. I understand the change of scenery discussion that we had with Dylan Carlson and Tyler O'Neill specifically, but why can't we just change the scenery here to make sure that we're getting the most out of those players? And I think that is what you're kind of talking about, Randy.
Yeah. Legitimate. It's legitimate. Why are guys leaving here and having success? That's legitimate. I think more so than that is the minor leagues. More coaches, more tutelage, and when they get here, they're ready to go. And I just don't see with the young players the growth that they need to have at the major league level.
I want to make one more point here. And I don't know if it would change anything in terms of what happens on the field. But I think from an optics standpoint, making changes like that would help the Cardinals sell tickets next year.
I think you have to.
100%.
I hate it because some of these guys are really good coaches, and it just didn't work out here for whatever reason. But you use the word cosmetic, and I think it's right.
Yeah.
You got to appease the fan base, and ultimately you got to get fans in the seats.
Well, and also they said last year, they insinuated that last year was a one-off. Clearly, it was not a one-off. You have surpassed just the 71 wins that you had last year, so you did accomplish that goal, but missing the playoffs, which I know they're not officially eliminated. I have to keep saying that just so that everybody's aware.
They're eliminated, Brooke. I'll say it.
Thank you.
6 games out in the wild card, they're eliminated.
The playoff picture, they are on the very outside looking in, so they're not going to make the playoffs again for the second straight year. It was not a one-off. It wasn't, you got a mulligan for that 1 year. Something has to change this offseason. And I'm going to say it too. End of season press conference. I think a lot of fans want to hear that this time and have a plan of, okay, these are the changes that we're making within the organization. You're right. It's the minor league level. It's also at the major league level, and it needs to be within the front office too when it comes to a new direction of where they're taking this organization.
That's Brooke. That's Dan. I'm Randy. Coming up, the Blues have a prospect game tonight and another one on Sunday over at Centene. Joey V is going to be there tonight, and he's going to talk to us about hockey and more next on 101 ESPN.
Stay up to date on all things.
One, two, three, four.
101 ESPN is your home of the St. Louis Blues, and training camp gets underway next week.
Wow.
And the Blues
Next
Prospect
week?
Tournament. Yeah, the first day of camp is next Thursday.
Wow.
And we've got prospects in town, and Joe Vitale is going to be working some radio tonight with Alex Ferrario. It's going to be fun. Joey V joins us, though, here on a Friday morning, and this is the first of, heck, we're going to be doing Friday mornings through late June this year because the Blues are going to win the Stanley Cup. Joey V, good morning. How you doing?
Randy, hey, I like the sound of that. Good morning to you, and you're absolutely right. We're going to be calling the heck out of this thing tonight at 17. The prospects are in town. I'm on the big show tonight, Randy. 101 ESPN. That's on the FM dial.
Oh, yeah, you get on the FM dial and everything changes. You got a younger demographic, Joey, and you relate to the kids well.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we flipped it from 105.7 The Point now. We just go right to the 101. We don't even got to switch to the AM anymore. And that was the one thing when we ended up switching from KMOX back after the 19th season. It became a little bit easier for my wife and my kids because they were always listening to country, the 93.7s, and the 105.7 Point morning shows, and now they just jumped right over to 101. So that's where we're going to be tonight. We're going to be on 101. on the FM side, it's going to be a big show, huge. I hope we don't break the radio with this prospect game versus the Blackhawks.
It's going to be great. Yeah, the hated Blackhawks. Okay, let's get started with your life. What was being a prospect like for Joe Vitale?
Ooh, what was being a prospect like? It was.
Did you have prospect camps at that time?
We did. I mean, they've changed a lot. You know, I was talking to Matt Lashoff about this the other day, but, you know, when we were prospects, these prospect tournaments, if you will, I mean, I went up to Kitchener, Canada, in Ontario there, and it was 6 games. And you're playing, you know, multiple different teams. Randy, there was a fight every period. I mean, you know, and I would play 5 straight games because I came from college, so I didn't get a chance to play a lot of those games ahead of time. You know, so what you did is you'd play in these tournaments, 5 games. I mean, it was the most gruesome training ever. And then you come home for a quick day off while all the veterans show up, which will be next week for the Blues. And then all of a sudden you get 1 day rest and you got to go right back out against the big boys. It's hard. It's meant to be hard. I think the coaches and the staff, they want to see that mental toughness side of a kid to go through the rigorous experience of a prospect tournament and then jump right into main camp. Now, it has tamed off here a little bit as the Blues are only playing 2 games this weekend against the Wild and the Blackhawks. So now the focus is just to get these kids loose. We don't want anyone getting hurt, and this is really about getting them prepped for main camp. So it had changed a lot. But I remember the anxiety, the nervousness, the sleepless nights leading up to it, testing. You know, testing on day one's always tough. You know, how many pull-ups you can do, how many on the push-up test you can do, what's your VO2 max on the bike. All that stuff is just basically set up to get this organization a little bit of an idea of how well you take care of your training. And then from there, it continues to build. But it's one of those things where training, all those testing, off-ice testings they do, is you get so nervous about it. And then once the tests are over, you know, Big Walt and Doug Armstrong and Al McGannis, they all look at the test, and as soon as the puck drops on day one, they basically just throw all those tests out the window because really at the end of the day, it's just can you play hockey.
Hey, did you, in your era, in the last, I'm going to let Brooke and Dan talk here, but were we past the era when you started of a young tough guy in camp having to fight the team's tough guy? Was there a guy in Pittsburgh that you had to fight during training camp?
You know, I'll never forget my first day skating around, and Todd Reardon, you know, multiple Stanley Cup champion coach now, he was going to be the head coach in Wilkes-Barre. And, you know, Todd Reardon, of course, was a former Blues defenseman. He was partnered up with Chris Pronger. I'm sure you knew that, Randy. Mm-hmm. That big '99 season, and he just rode tail shotgun with Chris Pronger as his partner, and he said it was the easiest year of his life. He let Pronger do everything. And, you know, so Todd Reardon, we're skating around and warming up, and Todd Reardon comes up to me, and he asked how I was feeling. I said, you know, Coach, I'm a little okay. I mean, I'm a 22-year-old kid just fresh out of college, and I'm looking at all these superstars, and I'll never forget him saying, okay, you see that guy right there? And he points over to this player, and it's Sidney Crosby. And he goes, see that guy? I go, yeah. He goes, don't touch him. And then he goes, you see that guy right there? And he was pointing to Evgeny Malkin. He goes, yeah, I see him. He goes, don't touch him either. He goes, everyone else, and he scans the entire ice. He goes, run them through the wall. And I'll never forget that. And my first shift, I ended up running Derek England, like through the glass almost. I mean, it was a hard physical hit. Ego whacked me. Of course, I was smart enough not to fight Ego. But, yeah, to your point, I had to fight multiple times because, you know, it was a part of the job. It was a part of, hey, if you want to survive as a fourth liner in this league, yeah, you got to take faceoffs. Yeah, you got to kill penalties. Yeah, you got to be responsible with the puck. But also, hey, man, when the bell comes a ringing, you know, and someone, you know, does something, one of your teammates, they're looking for that side too. Again, it's just what extra tool do you have? Do you have to do it to make it? No. But, you know, they're looking at a player. Give me the 7 good tools he has. And to me, fighting was always in my control. It wasn't something you needed to be super skilled at. It just you needed to have the courage to do it. And if I could have added one more skill to my game, I figure why not if it helps you make a team. So those camps were tough. They were constantly in your face. And what was hard about it too, Randy, is, as you know, like at heart, I'm not a mean person. I don't like to pride myself on being like a bit of a tough guy or whatever. But you have to put on this facade, and you have to go on the ice against your buddies, and you have to have this understanding that we're friends off the ice, but he's also trying to take my job. And by him taking my job, he's taking food off my table, and I just have my second kid, or whatever the story is. So it's a weird dynamic of these camps where, yes, you're on the same team, but also that buddy next to you that you're getting dressed next to, don't ever underestimate the fact that he is trying to take your job, and you have to come with a little bit more bite.
Joey, it has been a little bit since we last talked to you, and I want to get your take on everything that Doug Armstrong has done during this offseason to get prepared for the new season, which is starting here soon. Has your expectations for the Blues changed going into the season after everything he did, especially those offer sheets?
Yeah, I mean, Brooke, incredible. I mean, I think the trade deadline was a little quiet, right? Was something going to happen with Buchnevich? Yes, no. I think the draft came around. The draft was a little bit quiet, and I think there was the general consensus from some of the fans that I had talked to was that there was some concern that not much was going to be done coming into this season. And, the fans, and I understand their point of view, it's, hey, last year was a bit of a disappointment. You missed the playoffs. Yeah, you made some good pushes. Yeah, you took good strides, but you still missed the playoffs. And, the frustration was, okay, well, we're not really changing much. It hasn't been too many different things happening. Well, after the draft, that's when Doug really kind of got working. Of course, the Hayes gets shipped off. In that deal, you bring in the Joseph brothers. You bring in Radek Faksa, who's going to add some heavy speed. What he did with Ryan Suter, I think, is a brilliant move. I think bringing in a veteran, yes, he's a little bit slower. Yes, he's been around the league a long time. I think he's actually the longest tenured active defenseman in the league, around 1,400 games, a little over, actually. So you bring in that veteran presence. I think the Blues need that. They need that veteran to kind of come in there and slow things down, settle things down, not only on the ice, but also the locker room. You want young guys to show up and to see a presence like Ryan Suter, a potential Hall of Famer, maybe not, but still in that caliber and threshold of players. They come in the locker room, and all of a sudden you get a little bit quieter, and they start managing themselves a little bit. You watch how this guy handles himself. How does he prepare? What does he eat? How does he hop on the bike? How does he take care of his post game? Just how does he do what he does? I think that was a huge good signing. As he still was playing 19, 20 minutes a lot of nights last year for the Dallas Stars, so we still got a lot of great hockey in him. And then those offer sheets, like you mentioned, to me, that's when the doors blew open that this is going to be a huge step this year for this team with Holloway and Broberg. Broberg, to me, is going to be in your top four. I think he's going to kind of ride alongside Falk. He's going to eat up a ton of minutes. Holloway's certainly got some speed and some up-end skill as far as bringing more scoring to the lineup. So to answer your question, yes, the moves that were made, two things stand out. You're faster and you're bigger. You're bigger and faster. And not only mentioned, but you have a higher hockey IQ. I was talking to Doug Armstrong last week about this when we were doing the season ticket holder event down at the Enterprise, and he said, listen, you want big, strong players. You want fast players. But if they don't have a hockey IQ, they're just basically running themselves into a corner. And he's absolutely right. And that's where I look at some of the players they brought on. Not only are they big, not only are they fast, but they've been in the league a little while here, and they've certainly played some Stanley Cup playoff hockey where they understand the intelligence needed to kind of cater to their speed and size. So I think we got more intelligence. So between faster, bigger, and more intelligent, and you still got one of the best goalies in my mind in the league as far as Jordan Binnington, who's going to win you games. This is going to be a huge step this year for St. Louis.
Joey, is there a name or names that you're looking forward to seeing tonight that maybe you don't know all that much about?
That's a great question, Dan. Obviously the Dvorsky is an interesting one. What you're going to get with Zachary Bolduc. He had 5 goals for us last year for 9 points in around 20-ish games, if I remember that right. So he certainly is looking to be established as a go-to guy this year. Zachary Bolduc, to me, is the one guy in this game tonight that is probably the most deserving of a spot, and they still got to go out there and earn it. But this Dvorsky is an interesting one, Dan, because I remember when the draft picks came in back in July, so this was a couple months ago, there was a couple games. We actually called one. I called one with Alex Ferrario there. Donnie Fandango, we actually did it. That was also on the 101 FM dial of things. It was a huge smashing success. And so we called that game, and Dvorsky he was light years, in my mind, ahead, not only skill-wise, but he played with a lot of jam as well. So I think that those two players, to me, are maybe the two players that I think obviously the brass is going to be looking at as far as, what can they bring? Can they continue to take that step? So that's it, because I think defensively this team is pretty much set. Goaltending's certainly set. But is there going to be a Dvorsky to come in there and push maybe, let's say, a Nathan Walker around, or maybe push a Sundqvist around? Is he going to give this management group something to think about? And really that's what it comes down to. You look at these different players, and they all have these different assets and skill sets, and the team has to figure out, okay, can they do this a little bit better than an older guy? Can this element that they bring help our team because they do it very well. And that's why for these players here tonight, starting with this first game, it's really about every player looking themselves in the mirror and saying, what do you bring and how do you bring it tonight? Because everyone's so different. If you're a tough guy, get a bang in that first shift. If you're a goal scorer, look for a chance right off the hop. If you're a puck-moving defenseman, make an escape move and make a lead pass out of the D zone to get out of trouble. All that little stuff individually they bring, is that the player that can quickly get to it as soon as possible, to me, is going to have the best shots making this team out of camp.
Hey, Joe, last night, Brooke brought to my attention your interview with Matthew Joseph, where you asked the hard-hitting questions, what's your favorite cake? Very important things to know. And we found out about McCain Deep and Delicious Chocolate Cake, which is a Canada thing. They sell it at Walmart in Canada. We need to get our hands on one of these.
Absolutely. I mean, he spoke so highly of this thing, and people have reached out to me. They're like, "You've never heard of this cake?" I go, "What is it? Is it like one of those big chocolate, like Costco cakes?" I have no idea.
It looks like it's in a plastic tray. It's wrapped. It's obviously made by somebody else. Yeah, it looks like just a base, kind of like a brownie kind of thing, but it must be delicious. Well, it says it's deep and delicious, so obviously it is. But it looks like something that I could buy and maybe eat all of in one sitting.
And you know what's funny is, as I was interviewing them, of course, if they would have flipped the question on me, your carrot cake would have just blown the doors over as far as the greatest dessert I've ever had. But they didn't, unfortunately, ask me that. I also don't want the secret out, Randy, because if too many people know about this, then you're starting to spread those carrot cakes to other people, and then that's less for me. So I'm a selfish man at heart. People think I'm a nice guy. I'm not really nice. I'm actually pretty selfish.
Well, first of all, you're very generous. You aren't a selfish guy, but you kind of made that carrot cake famous, so you'll always be the number one guy on that carrot cake list. Whenever you want one of those, Joey V, you've got one.
You just don't. I don't even need to ask. Just whenever you're coming across me, it should be good. But no, yeah, that interview was fun, and the players were great sports about it. Jordan Kyrou and Pernovich there as well. And those are kind of quieter guys, and it's good. It's good for the fans to see that kind of side of them. But I tell you one thing, this Matthew Joseph, he is a personality. He told me he wanted to be a psychologist after hockey, so he really is intuitive with people. He's a good listener. He's very attentive when you're having a conversation with him, and he's just got a great personality. So it was great to hear from him an introduction to his fans, to what people are going to see, not only off the ice, but certainly on the ice. Heck of a player and just a wonderful personality. And I did tell him on his first goal this year, I'm going to throw in deep and delicious on the goal. I have to make sure I don't forget that.
The really big story in sports is Tua getting a concussion. You dealt with severe concussion and concussions. If you had a chance to talk to him, what would you say this morning or the next week about dealing with this or moving forward in his career?
Oof, man, Dan, that's a really good question, and I would probably need to think about what really I would say to him. But off the top of my head is that I think a lot of people would say, hey, you need to be careful. You need to take your time, but that's not him. That's not who he is, right? That's why he is wearing a Dolphins jersey, because he wasn't careful. He didn't take his time. I wouldn't say, hey, you need to be more cautious about how you do things. No, that's not facts, because if you were more cautious, you probably wouldn't be in the NFL. Your reckless nature, your creativity in the pocket, you wanting to hold on to the ball and make that extra play, that's what got you to where you were. Now, this is an unfortunate thing that comes a part of it. I mean, this is the price you pay for being the player that you are. I remember, my final fight that basically ended my career, people sometimes often ask me, they say, do you have any regrets about that, going after Miller, in that Boston game? And Miller at the time, he was a very, very tough kid, but he was kind of an up-and-comer. I didn't know much about him. He certainly, between breaking my jaw and my temple and my eye socket exploded, all that considered, it was a nasty, nasty fight. But you know what? The reality is, the regret would come if I did nothing, and then the GM calls me the next day and say, we're going to send you down, because I knew I should have done something. Because again, that was a part of what I did. Now we go into these things, and there's a price to pay. As a quarterback, one of the prices is you can get hurt. As a fighter in the NHL, as any player, you understand there is a risk. So when you have to pay the price for that risk, Well, to me, it's foolish to look back and say, "Oh, I have regrets," or "I need to be more careful," "I need to do things differently," or "You need to take more." To me, it's like, you know what? You do what you do. You love what you do. You understand there are risks. And when bad things happen, then, yeah, you got to step aside here for a little bit, and you just got to reevaluate things. And certainly that's what he is going to do right now. But, I definitely wouldn't – let's just say this. I wouldn't tell him anything about you need to be careful, you need to be safer, and you probably would regret these down the road because, to me, I don't know if that's how I feel about it. I think that when you do things with a purpose. You do things with your full heart. You do things with the player that you are, and that's what's got you to the point where you are in this position. Bad things happen and tough things happen, and I really, do encourage him to make sure he is, in fact, ready to play before he ends up coming back. But again, it's a part of the game, and as much as you hate to see it, this is also a part of what he does and what he does very well.
Joey V, it's great to hear your dulcet tones on the crystal clear FM bandwidth of 101 ESPN.
Doggone it, no scratching, no kind of fiddling with the seek button on people's drive down this morning. Nice and crystal clear on the FM. It's good to be back on the FM with you boys and girls, Brooke.
And we'll hear you tonight for the prospect game against the Blackhawks, the hated Blackhawks.
Yeah, hopefully you can. Hopefully we don't break the radio with all the people listening for the big prospect game. That's happening out at Centene on the 101 FM dial, boys and girls.
You're the best, Joey. We'll talk to you next week.
Can't wait. Looking forward to it.
See you. Joe Vitale with us on 101 ESPN.
He cracks me up. I love talking to him every single week, and I'm glad that we're having him on. Now, Randy, you piqued my interest about this chocolate cake, and I'm looking it up. It looks like it's only in Canada. I was going to see if there was a way to ship it to us.
They have it at Walmart in Canada. I guess they won't ship it to us, so it probably has to clear
I was trying
customs.
to figure it out. Yeah, it looks interesting.
I'm out.
You're out already?
I'm out. I want carrot cake. Randy's.
Well, we can handle that. But this is McCain's chocolate cake, deep and
I have
delicious.
it up for you, Dan. Does that look appetizing to you?
Oh, yeah. Looks great.
You know what? I don't think.
But I'm still in the carrot cake mode.
I need to try it. I don't think it looks great.
I don't either. It kind of looks dry in the photo.
Yeah. Right. So I'll give it a try. I'm open-minded. I'm curious. I tried it in college. But
I'll figure out a way to ship it to us.
Yeah. We'll figure this out. Coming up next, we've got the fight, and we need a fighter. Don't we, Matthew?
Yeah.
So let's get you to text in your name and the word fight to 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. I just waved to everybody, by the way, on the and Brooke just shook her head at me like I shouldn't have done it.
Well, I mean, we were having like a serious discussion about concussions at that moment that it happened. So that's all it was.
All right. Anyway, text in your name and the word fight, and maybe Matthew will pick you to fight me next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rockio with your SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals yesterday win their series against the Reds with a 6-1 win in the afternoon game. Sonny Gray was fantastic. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts. Also, it was a big afternoon for Thomas Saggese. He goes 2-4, picking up 2 for 4, picking up his first Major League Baseball hit, and then later on in the game, his first Major League Baseball RBI. Your Cardinals are back in action, starting a series against the Blue Jays. 6:07 first pitch. It'll be Eric Fetty facing off against Kevin Gossman for the Blue Jays. Fetty on the season 8-9 with a 3.39 ERA. That is your SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Red corner, average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke, Dan, Randy, and Rockio here, and it is time for the fight. And our fighter today is David. David, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good.
Are you excited to face Randy in the fight today?
As much as I can be, yeah.
Is this your first time facing him?
I think so. I've done a couple of the other ones a while back, but this is the first time, I think, with Randy.
Ooh.
Well, good luck to you.
Yeah.
Randy's pretty good at this. I don't know if you knew that.
I've kind of heard a few times.
All right.
Well, thanks for listening.
We'll get started with question number 1. David, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Who is the only player in NFL history to win more than 4 rushing titles? Is it O.J. Simpson, Barry Sanders, or Jim Brown?
Let's go Barry Sanders.
Final answer, David?
Yes.
Question 2, who is the only player in NHL history to win 3 Conn Smythe trophies? Was it Patrick Waugh, Sidney Crosby, or Mario Lemieux?
Let's go Mario Lemieux.
On to question 3.
Since Sandy Koufax did it 3 times in the 60s, only one pitcher has won multiple Triple Crowns, doing so in the 90s. Who was it? Is it Pedro Martinez, Dwight Gooden, or Roger Clemens?
Roger Clemens.
Back in 2022, the NBA retired a number league-wide for the first time. Which number did they retire? 6, 23, or 24?
Let's go 24.
Double check our score. How are you feeling, David?
Not great.
Not great. Why did you say that?
I'm not really sure on these. Kind of all of them were.
Is there one sport? Yeah. Is there one sport you like in particular more than the others?
A little more baseball, football, but like a little bit of everything. Basketball, I'm clueless at.
Not great.
Oh, well, thanks for that, John Moselak, also coming in there. Here's Randy right now. I didn't see any grapes today.
Oh, yeah, you got a couple
where?
left.
Oh, there
Yeah,
they
2
are.
left.
Oh, just 2 left.
Mm-hmm.
Usually they are completely gone, demolished, David, whenever he comes in here. Randy, say hi to David.
David, good morning. How you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Doing well. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks for texting in. Thanks for playing. Great to have you with us on the show.
Thank you.
Ready for question number 1, Randy?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is the only player in NFL history to win more than 4 rushing titles?
I'm going to go with Jim Brown.
Is there a thought process to this, Rando, or just
I believe he won the rushing title every year he played in the league, like 8 years.
Are you ready for question 2?
I am.
Who is the only player in NHL history to win 3 Conn Smythe trophies?
Connie Smythe, eh? This is MVP of the playoffs. It's not a goaler. 3 Connie Smythes. You know, I'm going to go with the great one. I'm going to go with Wayne Gretzky.
The old backhand.
The old backhand play by Gretzky. Or what's the other one? You don't try that drop pass with Gretzky on the ice.
Yeah, that was a good one, too.
Yeah.
Ready for question 3?
It's true, too.
Yeah.
All right, since Sandy Koufax did it 3 times in the 60s, only one pitcher has won multiple Triple Crowns, doing so in the 90s. Who is it?
This is pitching Triple Crowns.
Yes.
This is ERA, strikeouts, and
wins.
The 90s. There's only 2 real possibilities here. Roger Clemens being one of them, and Randy Johnson being the other. And I am going to go with, because I don't think Greg Maddux struck out enough guys, by the way. I'm not just completely dismissing Greg Maddux, but I don't think he struck out enough guys. I am going to go with the big unit, Randy Johnson.
Final answer?
Yeah, it is.
Back in 2022, the NBA retired.
Hold it. I'm going to go with Pedro Martinez.
Okay.
Sorry, Pedro Martinez.
Oh, last minute change. Yeah. Thought process behind that?
He popped into my head.
Conviction, Randall. Got to have it.
I'm going with Pedro.
Back in 2022, the NBA retired a number league-wide for the first time. Which number did they retire?
Can you give me the year again that they did this?
Back in 2022.
2022. They never have retired number 6 as a league for Bill Russell. This is only 2 years ago. I don't think they retired a number for Kobe. They certainly haven't retired 23. Dan, I've got to go with the old lifeline here.
6, 23, 24.
Okay. Well, you got Bill. Maybe it was when Bill Russell died. Maybe they have. LeBron is still wearing 23. And obviously this will be grandfathered in. If they were going to retire 23, it would have been a long time ago. They aren't retiring it for LeBron. And I don't believe they will retire, I don't think, 24 for Kobe. So I will go with Bill Russell's number 6 here. Not that they wouldn't retire number 24 for Kobe, but I think Bill Russell is, because of the dynasty and because of the impact that he had on the league when it was in its formative years. I'm just going to use logic here, and I'm going to go with Bill Russell's number 6.
Matthew?
An extremely close fight today. Our winner today by the skin of their teeth. Is it David in his first matchup against Randy Carricker, or does Megamind complete a clean sweep for the week? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis, with the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
I'm sorry, David. Randy Carricker took you down by a score of 2-1 in today's fight.
It was closer than I expected.
It was a close one today. Let's go through those questions and answers. The only player in NFL history to win more than 4 rushing titles. There's like 7 players who have done it in the Super Bowl era, but it's NFL history, and Randy, you hit it dead on the number there. Jim Brown played 9 seasons, won 8 rushing titles. The only time he didn't win a rushing title was actually kind of late in his career, right in the middle. It was when 1962, he actually got outrushed by 3 players, Jim Taylor, John Henry Johnson, and Dick Bass, all got past the 1,000-yard rushing mark. Jim Brown finished with 996, so 8 out of 9 years, but 8 rushing titles for Jim Brown. The only player in NHL history to win 3 Conn Smythe trophies is Patrick Waugh. Wayne Gretzky won 2 in 85 and 88. Patrick Waugh is also the only player to win Conn Smythes across 3 decades. He's also the only player to win Conn Smythes with 2 different teams, which just lock that in your brain because I will be using it in like a month or 2. Okay. Since Sandy Koufax did it 3 times in the 60s, lock that one away too. Only one pitcher has won multiple Triple Crowns, doing so in the 90s. It was 1997 and 1998 with the Blue Jays. Roger Clemens, back-to-back years, had Triple Crowns. Pedro did it 1 year in 1999. Randy Johnson's 1 Triple Crown round was in 2002. And back in 2022, the NBA retired a number league-wide for the first time. And like Randy, you did allude, we have not had the impact because it's getting grandfathered in. And that was the number 6 of Bill Russell, which back in 2022 was officially retired by the NBA. The first number to be league-wide retired for that league. A 2-1 win for Randy Carricker in the fight today. Again, David, thank you so much for joining the fight and joining the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Good to have you with us.
We're getting some justice for David text coming in. I know, that's the thing, because people are saying that you changed your answer after final answer was said, but you still got it wrong.
Yeah. So where would the justice come from?
I don't know.
So
there's always some sort of controversy with the fight.
Yeah, let's see if they can if you can come up with a reason. Should he get it right?
They always stir the pot. That's the problem. Yeah, by the way, that's the one question he got correct.
Oh, okay.
So it's like we can't even fudge that one, really. It's just, you got 1 and 4 correct, he got 3 correct, you got 3 wrong still, so how could it be justice?
Yeah. If you can think about what justice would look like for you, just text in.
In fairness, somebody texted in and says, sometimes I just want justice for the caller for no reason. And I'm like, well, that's definitionally not justice then. You can't have just be like, no, I want them to get things because I'm biased against Randy. That's not justice.
No, that's wanting to stir the pot, which is what you're doing there. Yeah, no controversy. Randy got it wrong anyways. It's okay.
You sure?
I think everything is fine, Randy.
Okay.
The amount of people who are like, you guys shouldn't have allowed him to keep talking afterwards. Do you think this is like a more extreme version of Jeopardy, where if you violate a rule, we come at you with a bat? What is going on in the text line and the expectations of how we should treat the fight? My Lord Almighty, people! It's a trivia question, 4-question trivia game we play at 8:30 on a radio show. Okay. Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Give him his machine.
It's back.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
There you go, Randy.
Oh, there you go. There we go. There we go.
Was that September with Earth, Wind, and Fire?
It was. I don't know why that was in there, but it was. You want to hear it again?
Yes, please, because we are in September.
We are.
I love this song.
You see, why be mad when this song's playing?
How could you possibly be mad?
How could you possibly be mad? Oh. Randy, please don't be a DJ. If you're going to go from September to that.
I just wanted to close things out with I am number 1.
You were a rapper, I know.
Yeah,
well,
still
are.
I
shouldn't have used past tense. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's even let's just throw out an example of, Tupac. He wasn't. It wasn't. He was a rapper. He's still a rapper.
He's somewhere, right?
Yeah, he's alive.
The correct terminology when referring to Tupac quotes is 20th century poet laureate.
Okay.
Tupac
Suge is still alive, right?
No. Yes, he is.
Suge is. And then who is the other guy, the big one?
Biggie Smalls?
Biggie. He's dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct. But
yes.
He capitulated.
R.I.P.
Bit the dust.
Damn.
Yeah.
Capitulated. God. Considering how he died, that is a rough way to phrase it. Holy.
How'd he die?
He got shot in L.A., I believe.
That happens.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Coming up, they said, what? On 101 ESPN.
biggest sports stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
Cards and Blue Jays open a 3-game series tonight at Rogers Century. The Redbirds will send Eric Fetty to the mound against Kevin Gossman of the Jays, and that game starts at 6:07 St. Louis time after the Cardinals won yesterday and took 2 of 3 by winning by a score of 6-1 over the Redlegs. So hashtag LGC. Let's go Cards.
Let's go Cards. Yeah, Thomas Saggese with a couple of firsts for him. He had his first career hit in the 6th inning, and then also he singled to center driving Lars Newbar for his first career RBI. This is what I want to see. I want to see what you have with these young players moving forward.
I thought Sonny Gray was nasty. He was perfect through 5. He's now won 3 in a row. In those 3 games, 19 innings, only 9 hits allowed. I thought we might have something special on our hands going when he's perfect through 5. And I know everybody's favorite pitch, the sweeper, or just a elevated slider, whatever you want to call it. But it was a nasty pitch for him. And, you know, give him credit. Down the stretch, he's been very good. Cardinals are 6 games out in the wild card. So mathematically, it's, well,
impossible.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Apply some math.
Yeah, well, you need the Mets to tank. You need the Atlanta Braves to tank. Probably not going to. You need 2 teams.
And they both play each other 3 games still, too.
I think that's this weekend.
Yeah, might be.
So, yeah, big in the wild card for the National League.
The Buffalo Bills hammered the Miami Dolphins 31-10 in Thursday Night Football last night, but the big story coming out of that game is the 3rd diagnosed concussion of the pro career of Tua Tagovailoa, the Dolphins quarterback. He also did have a diagnosed concussion in college at Alabama in his final year there, and I think we can all agree that he had a concussion when he stumbled off the field in a game 3 years ago, which wasn't diagnosed, and they actually let him come back into the game, but the Dolphins got fined for allowing him to come back into the game, and the concussion protocol specialist got fired because the Dolphins allowed him to come back into the game. So even though it's technically not diagnosed, somebody got fired over it being not diagnosed. So I'm saying that he had one. So I'm saying this is the 5th diagnosed concussion of the career of Tua Tagovailoa.
And rightfully so when you're talking about the way that they handled it in the past. This time they have to get it right because that did not look great whatsoever. A lot of people have pointed out, obviously I'm not a doctor, so I can't fully speak on this, but he was diagnosed with a concussion. You notice the fencing pose. That's something that we hear about a lot when you see that. That moment that it happened with Tua, it was just so painful to see, and you knew that it was serious. This time the Dolphins, the NFL, they have to get it right this time. He should be out a few weeks, but now it also calls into question if he should also maybe look at retiring. That is something that a lot of people are going to be discussing for the next few weeks because, I mean, that's a lot of concussions that we've seen for Tua in his career already.
I cringe if he comes back and gets hit. You know, just the way it looked last night, it was just scary. And he gets $93 million, no questions, right now. He would then, if he comes back or cleared by a doctor, depending on whether or not he plays, is $160 million due for him. Now, if he goes out with an injury, it's $167 in his pocket. I don't know, man. You brought up a really interesting point, Randy. Does the league step in and say enough's enough?
5 concussions.
Yeah. I mean, does Roger Goodell use his power, so to speak, in the National Football League and just say that's enough? And I hope the doctors do the right thing by him, and money is not part of the equation here. But I don't know about you guys. I cringe. I was, looking at, watching it, and I cringed, and I think about him taking another hit, what might happen.
That's what the league has to look at, because there's not much that can bring down the NFL. But a player dying or being debilitated because of playing in the NFL is something that would probably cause many parents to not allow their kids to ever play again, but it'd probably be so distasteful for a lot of people that they wouldn't tune in anymore. And basically, especially if it would happen in a situation like this where you have the ability to protect this player now, if you don't protect this player, that's a really, really bad look.
I pointed this out earlier, but sadly, if you guys are looking at Roger Goodell to maybe do the right thing in this situation, he might not be the one, because we have seen in the past, and I brought up that deposition about CTE and concussions earlier because there had been an ongoing lawsuit. I'm not sure if that lawsuit is still going on with former players suing the NFL because of CTE-related issues, concussion-related issues that they've experienced. And this was the quote from Roger Goodell when asked about it. He said, "We all know that there's risks with playing football and other sports. There's risks to walking down the street."
The image I think about last night is Mike McDaniel with his arm around him and give him a kiss on the top of the head. And it's just like, man, we're sorry. I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for us. And a question for me, I mean, if you're Miami, do you go out and get a QB? I mean, Ryan Tannehill is somebody we talked about. Do you call the Steelers? Maybe so, with Justin Fields and Russ. I mean, maybe you think about doing something like that.
I don't think, and I look at it from a fan perspective. Number one, I don't know if the cap room is there for Miami, although it would be for a guy like Russell Wilson because he's making virtually nothing against your cap this year. But you have Jalen Waddle and Kane and Tyreek Hill and that defense, Jalen Ramsey is still there for a limited amount of time. Do you want to go a year where Skylar Thompson is the guy that's charged with getting you into the playoffs, into the Super Bowl? I think you can upgrade over Skylar Thompson.
I think you can too.
And so I would want to do everything I can, because you really, all you need is a pilot there, somebody to put the ball into the hands of your skill position guys. I don't know if Thompson's that guy or not, but I think that they should do it. That's today's Rush Hour Reset here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, Brooke has, they said, what? Here on 101 ESPN.
You might have heard Doug Voss and Safe Money Radio. His shows have been on several radio stations for many years. Now he can be heard every Sunday from 10 to 11 a.m. on 101 ESPN. He is super excited to get to the ESPN audience as he is a huge St. Louis sports fan. Doug is an expert at minimizing the impact of market volatility on his clients' assets. So catch Safe Money Radio every Sunday at 10 a.m. on 101 ESPN. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through GH Hill Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
If you're thinking of selling your home, I am sure there are two things you want: certainty and the most money possible, right? Hi, it's Jamie and Randy here, and if you've been listening to us for some time, you know the only agent we trust is Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, St. Louis's real estate expert. Here's why she should be your first call and only call when looking for an agent.
That's right, Jamie. Gloria doesn't make empty promises. Nope, she provides written guarantees. What does this mean for you? Certainty. Now, certainty isn't the only thing you want. You also want the most money possible. Gloria is able to get her home sellers more money than the average agent because she already has the buyers. That's why Gloria will guarantee to sell your home at your agreed to upon price, or she'll buy it. To get your guaranteed price, call St. Louis real estate expert Gloria Liu at 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. That's GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
There's nothing more important than the look and feel of your home. So now's the time to make your home your retreat. Replace your tired old windows and doors with Marvin replacement products designed to improve comfort and efficiency. Fisher Window and Door Store, a reputable local company, will guide you through the entire replacement process. Their experts will help you make the right choice for your home, and they'll measure, design, and install your new windows and doors.
Hi, I'm Jim Fisher. Since 1941, the Fisher family has provided you with quality American-made building products, including Marvin Windows and Doors. Come visit one of our showrooms in Brentwood or East Alton and let us help you increase the value of your home.
Bring that distinct sense of quality to every room with Marvin. Visit Fisher Window and Doors' huge newly remodeled showroom in Brentwood or Fisher Lumber in East Alton, Illinois. Quality and comfort starts at Fisher Window and Door. Online at fisherwindow.com.
The only sports source in St. Louis that matters. WXOS HD1 East St. Louis 101 ESPN.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
What you talking about?
What the hell are you talking about?
What you talking about?
Do you actually listen to yourself when you speak, or do you find you drift in and out?
What you talking about?
Bro, I'm out, man.
Brooke, Dan, Randy, and Rocchio here. And guys, if you were a Marvin Harrison Jr. fantasy owner like me, you were probably pretty frustrated with the results after week 1. If you saw that game, the Cardinals lost to the Bills 34-28. But if you were also watching that game at the end there was a chance for more in that moment because Harrison was wide open for a potential game-winning touchdown, but Kyler Murray just didn't see him. If you go back and watch that video, literally Marvin Harrison Jr. is just waving wide open, so there's really no excuse there. He wasn't double covered in that moment. Here was the question that was posed to Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray about not getting the ball to Harrison.
Honestly, man, I wouldn't say they were just taking them away. I think, I'm just, as a quarterback, obviously you're going through your read. Sometimes the ball goes to him, but that's not, it's not my job. Obviously, I have a sense and a feel for guys when they don't get the ball and when they're, when they are getting the ball. But, I leave that up to Drew. Drew always, he tells me don't worry about that type of stuff. Just keep playing your game and, get the ball to where the ball's supposed to go.
So the question that was being asked to him in that moment, of course, is, why didn't you see Marvin Harrison Jr. there in that moment? And that was his answer. Guys, I'm not really happy about that answer, and I will take the kind of fantasy owner side out of this. In that moment, you're the quarterback. You should be looking for your number one target. Marvin Harrison Jr. is your number one target. You have a guy that you spent a top 5 draft pick on, widely considered one of the best wide receivers to come out of that draft. And the quote that's coming out of Kyler Murray where he's saying, it's not my job, I'm sorry, but it is your job. And maybe we give him a mulligan there where you say, okay, you soften that a little bit. There's a better way of saying that. He could say, we have to come up with a better game plan. But really, that's not what he was saying there because it's your go-to guy. Marvin Harrison Jr. is your go-to guy. You should be finding him, especially in that moment. I understand that there's a playbook that you follow. I understand that your offensive coordinator is telling you what to do in that moment, but as a quarterback, it's your job to execute in that moment on the field, and you should be able to see your number one target in Marvin Harrison Jr. in that moment.
Well, number one, not if you're a little person. But number two, in defense of Kyler Murray on that particular play, he was running for his life. He was spinning around. He was under duress by the Buffalo defense. There aren't many quarterbacks in the league that would have seen Harrison in that particular situation. From a broader perspective, though, Harrison targeted once and had one catch for 4, or twice, targeted twice, had one catch for 4 yards. That is within the purview of the quarterback, and he does have to find his best and really only really good receiver. Dortch, is it Chris Dortch had like 8 targets and Harrison had 2. I didn't even know Dortch until Sunday. Now he's on my fantasy team. But Harrison has to be the guy.
Double team most of the game, too. As a rookie, because of what you said, Randy, and he's the guy. I don't know if you guys remember when we were talking about the draft. I love this guy. Marvin Harrison is going to be a stud, in my opinion. He only played in 1 preseason game, and I wonder if that is something to it, too. When you have a rookie, how much should they play in the preseason? We see QBs play at least a half, it seems like, and Marvin Harrison played in 1 preseason game, and I wonder if that has an ill effect to his production going into this season. Just something to think about.
I just think that Kyler needs to take a little bit more responsibility there instead of just pushing it off on the offensive coordinator. And I'm sure if he could do a do-over, he would have a better way of framing that. But you should be saying we should have a better game plan in that moment because, once again, you spent a top 5 draft pick take on this guy. Marvin Harrison Jr., if you guys saw him, Dan, as you mentioned in college, he is really good. He's an explosive player. You should be finding him and getting the ball to him. You should always go to the line of scrimmage knowing where your number one target is. And, you mentioned the double coverage that we saw with him. I mean, here's the thing, and I know that he's not Travis Kelce in this situation, two very different people that I'm comparing here, but everybody knows that Travis Kelce is getting the ball in the Super Bowl, right? And somehow he still got the ball in the Super Bowl despite being double covered, the entire game. So you have to know where your top guys are, and you have to find a way to get them the ball.
Rule of thumb for quarterbacks, and Kyler Murray has not been thought of as Mark Messier in terms of a leader. Rule of thumb for quarterbacks: if your team succeeds, it's because of your teammates. If your team fails, it's because of you. If you take that approach every time you go to a podium, you're going to be fine.
In watching him, I wonder about him seeing over the line.
Oh,
it's a fair question.
It's 4'8", man.
His size. And can he compete at this level, at a high level, which at times he's done, but just literally just seeing over the line and being able to get the open guy the ball. Get the open receiver the ball. It's just something to think about.
It is. And he's 5'10", not 5. What did you say he was? 5'4"?
4'8".
Oh, Randy.
You said little person.
You said little person.
Okay, 3'8".
He's listed as 5'10".
Okay.
Now, he might be a little bit shorter than that. Maybe it's the cleats that they're adding to the height there. But I think that that's a fair question, Dan, if he can even see. And another thing with Kyler Murray, too, is that he's still escaping those allegations about his preparation going into games.
Yeah.
So when you have a quote like that coming out, it just makes me wonder a lot. So kind of the overarching question here is it the quarterback job to make sure that his top receiver gets more targets or touches in a game?
100%.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yep.
Most important position on the field, got to find it.
Yep. And if you don't find the guy, then the next most important thing is to win the game, to score points and win the game.
Find a way to win.
Find a way to win. Yep. That's Dan. That's Brooke. And I'm Randy. Good job, Brooke. He said, what?
They said, what?
Yeah.
We'll get Dan to do it one day.
Said what?
Oh, wow. Happy Friday. That was They Said What, as you heard there. Next up, we will have Mizzou wide receiver Theo Wease. That's coming up next year on the opening drive.
Mizzou can still pick up a first down. Wease, contested catch. Got it. There he is again. Oh, still up. Yak him, young man. Theo Wease.
Play action. Cook is going to go down to Wease, and Theo Wease, he is a speedster who gets free. Down the sideline he goes. M-I-C.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke Grimsley, Randy Carricker, and we are joined now on the celebrity line by Mizzou wide receiver Theo Wease Jr. Theo had 13 catches last weekend for 149 yards against Buffalo. Now the Tigers getting ready to take on Boston College. Theo, first of all, thanks so much for your time. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you guys for having me on.
Well, we're excited to talk to you. Let's start with this. A career game. Have you ever had anything like last week against Buffalo?
No, that was my first time for sure.
How exciting was that for you in that performance?
I was super excited after when I realized how many catches I had. I knew I was having a pretty good day. I didn't know it was going to be a career night though until after.
And one of the things that happens in any sports endeavor is you kind of get into a zone. And it seemed like every pass that was thrown to you, you were able to snare. Did you feel like you were in a zone last week, Theo?
Yeah, I was definitely in the zone. I was just playing. I wasn't playing to a scoreboard or anything, just trying to set the standard for everybody.
How has it been working with Brady Cook?
It's been fun. You know, Brady's one of my good friends now that I've been here for 2 years. You know, just putting in that extra work with him whenever he needs it, it's always fun.
Let's go back to your journey here to Mizzou. As you mentioned, you came here 2 years ago. What made you want to transfer from Oklahoma to Mizzou?
I just saw a team with a lot of fight. I just looked back, watched a couple of their games from 2022, saw just a lot of one-possession games, and I just wanted to be a part of a culture that just, never gave up, always fought.
And it's a team that not only is great, but a really competitive wide receiver room. What's it like when you walk into that room and then when you practice with those other wide receivers every day?
You got to be your best. You got to be the best version of yourself every day. It's a very talented room we got with a lot of guys that are just hungry and very competitive. But it's also we also got a great bond with each other. We all want the best for each other, and we just continue to push each other every day.
All right, Theo, I want to get some reads on some of your fellow wide receivers. Fastest one.
Marquise Johnson.
Speedy. Okay, that makes sense. Best hands.
Me.
Okay, good. Best moves.
Luther or Mookie.
Wow, that's saying a lot about Mookie. And then the best dressed wide receiver in that room.
Me, hands down.
Hands down. Okay. Is this something that you've paid attention to for a long time? Like when you were in high school, when you got to Oklahoma, were you thinking about, okay, even if I'm not the best wide receiver, I'm going to be the best dressed?
No, definitely, just growing up and just watching, NFL games, NBA games, and just seeing how the athletes, just really take their fashion serious. So, yeah, I always was excited to get that opportunity to do that.
And I know that you guys are, of course, not paying attention to all of the outside noise. We hear Eli Drinkwitz talk about that a lot, but you guys are receiving a lot of national attention as the 6th-ranked team in the country right now. How does it feel to get that national recognition for being one of the best teams in the country?
It's an honor. We put in the work. We put in all the work for this. So, it's kind of expected, but, we definitely got a lot more on our plate that we're trying to achieve.
And you've had the fans show up, too, with back-to-back sellouts. I know that you're obviously focused on the game, but do you look around and notice the fan support, too?
Oh, definitely. Before kickoff, the receivers, we kind of just, look around for a little bit, just take it all in and embrace the moment.
Hey, Theo, Nick Saban always used to talk about with his teams, he said, we can't take the and that's us, that's the media telling you guys how great you are. How is it, though? How difficult is it to avoid having all of these platitudes that are thrown your way?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. You hop on any social media network and, you see everybody telling you that you're doing super good and your expectations are this and that. So we definitely see it, but we definitely turn our shoulder to it and know that it means nothing until we're holding that trophy at the end of the season.
I have to assume that, of course, all the games are important to you, but you have a game that will be coming up against your former team in Oklahoma. Are you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, it'll be a fun game.
What about Boston College this weekend, too? Two ranked teams going at each other. I think there's a lot of eyes that will be paying attention to that one.
Yeah, the stage is set. You know, we're going to embrace this moment. You know, we belong here, and it's going to be really exciting. We're honored for this opportunity.
Mizzou number 1 Theo Wease with us on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. For Theo, for those that aren't aware of it, you are a graduate student. What are you studying? What do you want to do with a graduate degree?
So I'm getting my master's right now in positive coaching. So when I'm done playing football, I'm probably going to jump into the coaching side.
Who is a coach that has helped you out a lot in your career?
Honestly, I've been blessed with a lot of good coaches in my career, a lot of known coaches. So I would say all of them. Honestly, I've taken something from all of them.
What about Eli Drinkwitz? And, you've seen him grow a lot as a coach, and I'm sure he's helped out a lot, too.
Yeah, definitely. And just, this Coach Drink being one of the younger coaches, so, he's going to show his personality a lot. That stuck with me a lot because, you got to make it a family-like, comfortable environment.
And we hear about your wide receivers coach, too, who's done a great job. But Jacob Peeler has had an effect on a lot of guys. What sort of effect has he had on you, Theo?
Oh, he's had a major effect on me that people don't see, just on how to just really focusing on my preparation, just before the game, prehabbing, watching more film, and, just teaching me how to just be more vocal for the guys in the room.
So I see a productive wide receiver. You're 6'2", 210. You can fly. I would imagine that you have to have some NFL aspirations, right?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
If an NFL scout came and said, okay, Theo, what's your best attribute? Why should I draft you? What's the best thing that you do?
I would tell them I'm a complete receiver. I can go outside and run any route and get open. I can go inside, run any route, get open. I got sure hands and, just a playmaker waiting to make a play.
We talk a lot, and especially we've seen so many changes with the transfer portal and with NIL. As a player who has been able to experience both of those things, how much has it benefited you?
It's benefited me a lot. I can, through my NIL, I can, get my parents out here to more games because I'm not as close. Just little things like that. It's always good to just have your family around or be able to go back home whenever you can.
That's so cool that you get your parents out to the games. What's that like for them being able to see, obviously, because they were at all your high school games? I would imagine that Oklahoma was a little bit closer. It's got to be really cool to have your parents at these games when you're number 6 in the country.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, definitely. It just shows that, the hard work, it pays off.
Well, Theo, we're looking forward to the game against Boston College. We're looking forward to the SEC schedule coming up. You are a fun player to watch, and we're thrilled to have you on the show with us. Thanks so much for the time, and good luck against BC.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you guys.
That's number 1, Theo Wease from Mizzou with us on 101 ESPN.
I liked his answers to your questions about the wide receiver room and who was the best in certain areas. Now, I have to go look. I'm going to pay attention this weekend to see who truly is the best dressed. I'm not great with men's fashion, but I like that he said himself for that.
Yeah, I like that. And he's got the best hands, too, according to him.
They had 535 yards of offense last week, and they're averaging 503.
They've got it going there offensively.
As you mentioned in the interview in the beginning, 13 catches for Theo Wease, 149 yards, no Luther Burden, so it shows that there's a secondary target that they can go to. Offense, obviously, is very dangerous. Brady Cook is 20th in passing efficiency in the country, and they should get Brett Norfleet back in the lineup this weekend, the tight end. So more offensive weapons for Mizzou going into this weekend against Boston College.
I can't say that I was expecting week 3 to be a matchup that you must watch for Mizzou, considering that now they're 2-0, and that we saw what Boston College was able to do against Florida State. Now, things have not been going great for Florida State, but you got to see in that game specifically Boston College's quarterback, Thomas Castellanos. He's a dual-threat quarterback. He's very slippery, and they just really ran FSU to death in that game. They took 52 carries for 263 yards in that 28-13 victory. So I think it's kind of nice, actually, though, that you've already kind of seen what to expect with Boston Boston College, and it's not a complete surprise going into this game. I'm sure they'll have some tricks up their sleeves, but you were able to see that game against FSU and know what they have available.
Better get ahead of them. Better get ahead of Boston College. Don't allow them to start running downhill like Florida State did. That's Brooke. That's Dan. I'm Randy. Coming up, it's week 2 in the NFL, and we've got week 2 NFL storylines coming your way on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals get a big win yesterday, 6-1 over the Reds, and that wins them that series as they roll on to a series against the Blue Jays starting tonight, 6:07 first pitch. It'll be Eric Fetty on the mound for the Cardinals. He faces off against the righty for the Blue Jays, Kevin Gausman. Gausman on the season, 12-11 with a 4.09 ERA. Also last night, week 2 of the NFL kicked off with Thursday Night Football. The Bills with a 31-10 win over the Dolphins. Just a few moments ago, Mike McDaniel talking about the injured quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. He says they will roll with Skylar Thompson at quarterback, and they will add another QB. Tua Tagovailoa, on the other hand, will be assessed daily. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Time for Week 2 storylines in the NFL. The Packers are home against the Indianapolis Colts, and the Packers have been preparing Malik Willis, the former Titan, to play this weekend. It looks like Jordan Love is going to miss this game, but it's a perfect game for Jordan Love to miss for a couple of reasons. Number one, Mark Hafley, the new defensive coordinator of the Packers, is very creative. He's got 7 number 1 draft choices on their 2 deep in Green Bay. They've got 5 starters that are number 1 draft choices. They're very athletic, and they give a guy like Anthony Richardson a lot of looks. This should be a game where the Packer defense carries the day, and the Colts defense is not going to carry the day. Their defensive coordinator, Gus Bradley, used to be one of the most innovative guys in the league. Now they're last in the league in pressuring the quarterback, and they don't show you many different looks on the back end. So if ever there was a game where you could tell Malik Willis, okay, throw it here, you're going to be fine. If you just throw it here, that would be a good play. And the other thing about Willis is if they don't get pressure, the Colts, he can run. This might be the perfect matchup for Malik Willis, and it might be the perfect matchup for the Packers to have without Jordan Love. And they still have all of their talent in the receiving core with Romeo Doubs and with Reed and with Christian Watson. I would not be at all surprised if in their first home game and the quiet crowd on offense, I would not be at all surprised if the Packers are able to take advantage of the Colts and win big here.
Is Josh Jacobs going to be available? I know that he was dealing with some back issues.
He is going to be there. He had him for a while, about a week back, but he's going to be fine.
I just walked right into that. Yes, as you mentioned, Malik Willis, a former Tennessee Titan. Now, maybe they will be able to get more out of him because during that era that Malik Willis was there, the Titans were not great offensively, and so they have changed over because of that to a different coach right now. Now, don't laugh at me, Rocchio. You can also argue they're not great offensively now.
I was confused as opposed to all those other eras in Titans history when they throw the ball a lot.
Here's the thing, is that Vrabel, that was not a situation that was working out there in Tennessee anymore. So maybe he wasn't able to get the most out of Malik Willis, and they can with the Packers and their organization. You're right. If you have watched Malik Willis, though, he is more prone to use his legs than his arms. So if they just keep it simple for him, should be fine.
Over under of 41 in that game. My friends are saying take the under. Jordan Love's absence. So maybe take the under on the over-under of 41. Just saying it out there.
For the friends.
For my friends.
They're always listening.
They certainly are. So I need help, though. I need to see what to tell my friends from you guys. Over-under 41. Take the under. You in?
I am in taking the under.
Yeah, I'll take it.
All right.
Let your friends know.
Week 2, I like unders.
Okay,
About
good.
Week 6 is when I turn my I flip the switch and I go from unders make sense to unders are boring, bet overs and live life.
Oh man,
a lot of
That's
offense.
like week 6. That's like week 6 though.
Yeah, I gotta learn more about it. My second storyline, or my storyline of our 3 that we're going to look at would be C.J. Stroud against Caleb Williams. The Texans and the Bears, looking forward to this. C.J. Stroud with all the weapons that he has offensively. So I think the Texas wide receivers against the Bears secondary will be the storyline of this game. And anytime Caleb Williams plays, number 1 overall pick, try to do some things outside the pocket, and he's learning that this is not college. So I love it. C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams. You're predicting 2 great offensive players. Certainly you're hoping for Caleb Williams if you're a Chicago Bear fan, and I think that's one of the big storylines this weekend.
You know what else I like about this game is that both of these teams did things to try to help their young quarterbacks, with the Bears going out and getting Keenan Allen from the Chargers, and then obviously the trade of Diggs from Buffalo to Houston. Both of those teams last year were, even though the Bears had DJ Moore and the Texans had Tank Dell, they were deficient in the wide receiver room, and both of them went out and got really good veteran wide receivers to help out their young quarterbacks.
For the game that I am watching this weekend, you have the Chiefs and Bengals, which is so weird that we're talking about this time of year. But anyways, I'm honestly more looking at the Bengals in this game because I don't believe that what we saw in week 1 is indicative of what we will see for the Bengals for the rest of the season. Now, there's still a lot of interesting storylines to follow. If you've been on social media, you probably have seen the video that has gone now viral of Joe Burrow, where he was really flexing his hand a lot during the game. Some people even saying that it looked like he was holding his water bottle weird. And he was asked about that recently at a press conference, and he just kind of laughed it off. But you did notice that there weren't many, there was a lack of downfield throws from Joe Burrow in week 1. You still have everything that's going on behind the scenes, too, with Jamar Chase. I wonder if that also has an effect on this team currently, because that situation still hasn't been resolved. As for the Chiefs, I just want to see more from Xavier Worthy, which you will likely see this week. Randy, you have him on your team, don't you?
I love
so,
him.
of course, you want to see more of him. It looks like we will, because Marquise Brown is expected expected to miss another game, so expect another big game from Xavier Worthy. The Chiefs always find a way, and I think it goes back to Patrick Mahomes, the way he's able to elevate the players around him. Another rookie receiver coming in and doing well, I think that has a lot to do with the Chiefs and what they're able to do, but also Patrick Mahomes getting the most out of the talent around him.
We talk about QBs. That's our theme here with Burrow, Mahomes, Jordan Love, his absence, C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams. It's about the QBs.
It really is. And the QBs need receivers, and the entire Bengals receiving core that Joe Burrow enjoyed for several years has been decimated now. With Boyd and Higgins, Boyd gone, Higgins out, Chase at the very best compromised. They've got real problems in that receiving core in Cincinnati for Joe Burrow. He's going to elevate some guys that we've never heard of before.
I do have another question for you guys. Mm-hmm. My friends are curious about this one.
Yes.
Chargers and Panthers. Now, Bryce Young, only 161 yards. It seems like he's getting killed every single weekend. Chargers are favored by 6. Second game for Jim Harbaugh. I like the Chargers in this.
Here's the thing about the Chargers, and Jim Harbaugh has a method to his madness. We mentioned that he traded Keenan Allen. He also got rid of Mike Williams. They kept Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, and both are healthy right now. And you mentioned Bryce Young being under siege. He'll be under siege in this game. They might not score a point. The Panthers just might get shut out, and you know exactly what the Chargers are going to do offensively. Greg Roman is their offensive coordinator. They're going to run the daylights out of the ball on second and short. They're going to throw it, and Herbert's going to get his opportunities downfield. And I'm with you. I think not only do the Chargers win this one, but they probably win going away.
Yeah, I think so. I think another game that maybe won't be so much fun to watch this weekend would be Steelers and Broncos.
Yeah. Where's the offense?
Yeah, that'll be a fantastic question. Will we see some offense more this weekend? I don't know. That might be not a fun game to watch, but still, is there games that you guys watch or pay attention to, either hate watch or maybe just even watch to see how bad that the teams are?
Well, I hate watch. I'm going to hate watch the St. Louis Bowl because you've got the Grid Birds against the Rammies. So you've got that. I will hate watch that. I don't hate watch it, but a game like Pittsburgh and Denver. The interesting thing about that, does that game ever wind up getting on Red Zone?
With the lack of offense, who gets in the red zone?
Yeah, does anybody get in the red zone?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. To answer your question, Brooke, I think the game that you highlighted, Mahomes and Burrow, just to see how Burrow responds with the hand. Is it an issue? And then just watching Patrick Mahomes. He might do something spectacular every single weekend, so that's somebody I watch. It seems like every Sunday, and they will be in the red zone, so I will see him at some point.
We had a guy that was not a good head coach here in St. Louis. Steve Spagnuolo might be the best defensive coordinator in the history of the NFL.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
If they had assistant coaches in the Hall of Fame, he's got 4 Super Bowl rings, and look what he does here. They get rid of Snead. They don't have him. Look at all of the personnel turnover they've had in Kansas City since he got there and won his first Super Bowl, and what they have now. It's completely different, yet they're still great. And especially young defensive backs get great under him.
I think he is a Hall of Famer because of the 4 Super Bowls. I realize that they don't go. It's kind of like a pitching coach in baseball. They don't get enough credit, or even probably a hitting coach if you had a long run and great offense along the way. You need to take a look at those guys for the impact that they make in the league. And certainly Steve Spagnuolo has done that in his time. Wherever he's been, the defenses have been good.
No doubt about it.
I think last season even sealed that even more so because it was not a great year offensively for Patrick Mahomes and company offensively. And it was the defense. It was Kansas City's defense that carried them all the way up until the point where he could get more things going offensively, Patrick Mahomes.
Nick Bolton, baby. Mizzou's, M-I-Z-Z-O-U.
Yeah.
All right, that's your Week 2 NFL storylines here on 101 ESPN. By the way, we've got action for you this weekend. Texans and Bears on Sunday Night Football. And then on Monday night, you've got the Eagles and Falcons. So we've got a lot of NFL action coming your way here on 101 ESPN. But up next, it's Rocc and Roll.
The NFL season is back. It's the best time of the year, and we're already rolling into week 2 of the NFL year. And the best place to put down your daily fantasy for week 2 of the NFL is with our friends at Underdog Fantasy. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by competing on Underdog. And if you're in Missouri or on the Illinois side, you can get in the game with Underdog. In fact, you can get in the game with this week's entries. I'm already putting together some entries for this week. Right now, I got one going. I'm going to go Chris Godwin, higher than 61.5 receiving yards because he's always involved in that Tampa Bay passing attack, and it continues to be high octane. We saw what Anthony Richardson did last week, and you can get him right now for higher or lower than 1.5 touchdowns. I'm going higher on that 1.5 touchdowns, and I think we all know right now Deshaun Watson not looking good in the NFL. We're going to go lower than 241.5 passing plus rushing yards for Deshaun Watson. Again, lower on Deshaun Watson's passing rush yards, higher on Anthony Richardson's passing touchdowns, and higher on Chris Godwin's receiving yards. That's just the beginning of your entry. You can keep on adding stuff, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. You just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or to UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code ROCC, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first Cash Champions entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code ROCC to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus in President's Day where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Get started with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
want to rock. I need my end roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
Blues and Brews coming up a week from tonight over at Anheuser-Busch on the 20th. And 101 ESPN is your chance to score a pair of Ducats to Blues and Brews. You can get fired up for the season. It's an outdoor street party that features live music from country music star Matt Still and St. Louis's own Charles Glenn Group. Appearances by Braden Shen, Jake Nabors, Dylan Holloway, Philip Broberg, Drew Bannister, and Blues alumni. And we've got a question for you. Yes, Brooke?
I was going to say, they just announced yesterday that they're adding Buchnevich, too.
Bucci.
Buch is going to be out there.
Yeah, that'll be great. You can text in to win free tickets to Blues and Brews at 314-399-9646, 314-399.
Yo-ho!
If you would like to participate in this little contest. Matthew, did you come up with a question, or do you want me to do a question for you?
I want to hear yours.
Oh, it's easy.
Oh, okay.
And you should be able to get it. But are you confused?
Yeah, because I was excited for this question.
Sorry.
Okay, well, let's go with your question then.
Fine. Earlier on in the show, to the chagrin of many people listening, we found out from Joey Vitale a specific thing that new St. Louis Blue Matthew Joseph is a big fan of. What is that thing?
Okay, great.
We'll go with the fifth texter that names it.
Number 5.
And it's a dessert. We did talk about it quite a bit throughout the show.
Yeah.
And they loved it. They loved hearing about it.
Oh, they
the
did
deep
love
dive
hearing
into
about
the
it.
personal predilections of their Blues players. It's what people want to hear before training camp.
Yeah. Well, training camp starts next week.
Are we going to be out there?
Well, we can make that decision right now.
Okay.
We're going to do this live on air.
Let's do it. Next Thursday morning show. Yeah, let's do it. Matthew, you okay with that? You can't. Matthew can't come out, but Matthew, are you okay? Yeah. We'll okay. Then we're doing it. Brooke, you good with that?
Yes.
Centene Ice Center. Okay, we'll do it. We'll get Doug Armstrong on the show. Okay, we'll do it. Also, next week on Wednesday, 101 ESPN is going to salute our nation's military with our special annual trip of the Fast Lane over to Scott Air Force Base. You can join them for Military Appreciation's live broadcast Wednesday from 2 to 6. If you're on base, we hope that you'll stop by the Fast Lane live broadcast Wednesday, 2 to 6 from Scott Air Force Base, brought to you by Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, CarStar, and Budweiser. All right, Matthew, what do you got on Rock and Roll?
We got to go.
Oh, but come on, those guys aren't going to be here until 5 after anyway. Huh?
Yeah, we got spots.
Oh, we got commercials and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about favorite desserts. What is your favorite dessert, Matthew?
This Matthew Joseph's favorite dessert is the ice cream cake from Dairy Queen. It's the only thing.
Okay.
It's the one
I
thing.
forgot
It's
about
the
that.
only thing I want for my birthday every year.
Really?
I've gotten I don't need presents. Just somebody in my life. Make sure I have the Dairy Queen ice cream cake with the crunchy fudge in the crunchy fudge middle, and I'll be happy for the entire week.
Wow, sounds fabulous.
Yeah. I guess for birthdays, a little bit different. I like the chantilly cake from Whole Foods. It's really good. It has some fresh berries on the inside. Delicious.
All right, Dan?
Oh, it's your carrot cake.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I
it's
appreciate
not even
that.
close.
Oh, I appreciate
Seriously.
that.
And your carrot cake. Oh, man. We kind of missed the brownie points there, didn't we, Rock?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
You
Man,
said
that's a
oops.
no-brainer.
Yeah, I'm a carrot cake guy, too. I like carrot cake.
I love
But
carrot
I
cake.
also like a cherry chocolate cheesecake. It's delicious.
Ooh.
Chocolate cheesecake with cherries on top.
Where do you get that?
Home.
You make it?
Oh, you betcha.
I didn't also know that you dabbled in cheesecakes.
I can do cheesecake. Yes. of
Oh,
course. Yeah.
I feel like we need to have a cheesecake, a Randy Carricker cheesecake too.
Oh, well, we'll see if that happens.
We
At
have to
some
be on
point.
our best behavior.
Best behavior. Yeah.
All right, Dan,
Yeah,
Rocky,
I
we're
can
going to
bring
work
that
on
from
this.
Yeah.
I was going to throw out a little public service announcement. They make one serving mini ice cream cakes at Dairy Queen.
Oh, now
which
good to know.
I had no idea.
Okay.
This is something my girlfriend discovered this year when she went to go get my big cake, and they make one serve ones like in a sundae, like the same like Sunday thing they give you at Dairy Queen. They'll make little mini ice cream cakes you can just buy one-offs. More people should do that.
I didn't know that.
Yes, like there's no reason to go buy a gallon of ice cream if you just want a little ice cream. Just go and get your own personal mini ice cream cake. It's always the right move.
Well, what if I want a gallon?
I'm just saying. I
feel judged.
I mean, you can get a gallon, but I'm saying it's better.
I feel
Sorry, it's
ashamed
better.
for getting a gallon of ice cream.
Unless it's like Turtle Track or something like that.
Great job today by our producer, audio engineer.
Oh, come on!
You took away his title.
That wasn't my fault. They got it fixed. I didn't do anything, but they got it fixed.
Great timing.
We've been on the regular cameras for the last 2 segments.
Randy also tried to add a video engineer to his job title today, and it did not happen. You tried to fix the cameras.
It was like calling Spectrum. Is it plugged in? Well, let me check. So I unplugged it.
It's like that Jimmy Fallon IT sketch, on SNL.
Exactly. Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes.
How did the whole thing, Brooke, did you have fun today, start?
Because she just needs to have fun.
She needs to have fun. She needs it.
Daniel, you're the best.
You too, buddy.
We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. By the way, it's Friday the 13th. Don't break any mirrors. Don't step on any cracks. And for all of us, until Monday morning at 7 o'clock, don't just have a great weekend. Have an American weekend.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird report. The Cardinals pick up a series win against the Reds after Mason Wynn and Brendan Donovan